What's up and welcome back to another live stream with GizmoSlipTech. Today I've got an exciting video for you. Today we've got the Asus TUF A16. This is the all AMD Advantage Edition version where we've got the RX 7600S, which is the RDNA 3 GPU so far that we've seen so far in 2023. Hopefully this thing is competitive with the other major brands out there, you know, the RTX 4050, 4060, 4070. We'll see how well this stacks up against those GPUs. Most importantly, right now, this laptop is on sale for $899, which brings me to our sponsor for today. Thanks to Best Buy for sponsoring this episode. So big shout out and thank you to Best Buy. I've been a long time buyer from Best Buy. I've bought, I don't know, a bunch of different laptops from Best Buy, personal laptops I reviewed, and they're sponsoring today's episode. So big shout out and thank you to them from the bottom of my heart. It does help support me as a content creator. That said, I am free to say whatever I want to say about the products today on the live stream. All pros and cons, positives and negatives, because if this laptop doesn't turn out very good, I can recommend to you other laptops that are better from Best Buy. So yeah, there will be a lot of pros and cons, and they did send over some cool stuff for me to check out with you guys on this initial opening of the live stream. So not only do we have the laptop to unbox today, we've also going to do a quick unboxing of the Logitech G35 headphones here, and then we also have the Samsung Odyssey G51C monitor, which is a 32-inch QHD monitor, which is currently only $229 on Best Buy's site. And so all of these products, I believe, are on sale except the headphones. And then we also have a mouse that I actually used in recent live streams, and one that I've been using for years now, the Logitech G305. So there's a link to each of these products in the description down below. And if you want to help support me as a content creator, please consider using the links if you need to buy them. Now, I do like the Logitech G305. It uses Lightspeed technology for zero latency inputs. I cannot tell if there's any latency with the mouse. It's a very simple mouse. It's also very inexpensive. I believe full price normally is under 50 bucks, and I think it's on sale right now for around 40 bucks. So that's a pretty good deal. So real quick, just checking out those products that Best Buy sent over. We have the Logitech G305. Right now it's on sale, $9 off for $41. The Logitech G435, it's a Dolby Atmos over-the-ear with built-in microphone. So no clue if these are any good or not. Never tried this one before, but right now it's $49.99. And then the Logitech G51C. A ton of positive reviews for this monitor, and I'm excited to check it out. Only $229, $175 or $170 off right now. It's kind of a monster sale, not gonna lie. Currently it is in stock for ordering. Not sure how long it'll stay in stock, but this would be an excellent laptop, I think, in theory, to pair with a gaming laptop. Now, I believe this is 16:9 aspect ratio, but it's a 32-inch monitor, which is quite huge. So I'm very curious to see how the monitor is, and we'll see how the headphones sound real quick before we continue unboxing the Asus TUF A16. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open up the headphones to start with. All right, so this is, I took the plastic off, but I have not actually opened this up. So let's see what's inside here. Let me pull up chat too, in case you guys have any questions. All right, so here is the box. Let's see here. So there's the headphones right there. Got some paper covers over them. Looks like there's maybe one more little sub box inside of here. No, there's nothing in there. Okay, cool. So I think that's everything actually. So we got the headphones, very lightweight, extremely lightweight actually. Oh, and there's the dongle right there for the headphones. All right, and then is there anything else in here? Oh, there is a cable. All right, so it's a USB-A to USB-C cable. I'm guessing this is for charging the device, or maybe using it in a wired mode if you wanted to. I'm not sure if you can use it in a wired mode, but we can find out today. So there's the, yeah, so plug it in right here. And let me see if I can unplug my Logitech G305 real quick. Whoa. Okay, so these have interesting up down here. It's so lightweight. That's the one nice thing about this right now. I can tell it's extremely lightweight. I think I'm just wondering how durable it's going to be because it's so lightweight. I don't know. I would definitely treat these with care. Like any headphones you get, you obviously want to treat with some care. But these ones in particular definitely feel very lightweight. So let's go ahead and see if I can give them a listen. I'll give you an impression of the audio. Let's see here. Mute that and let me see. It doesn't look like the audio is going out through here. Yeah, so like I said, this is the first time I've ever used these, so let's try plugging it in. And looking at the headphones here directly, looks like we've got a power button to turn it on. And then mic mute button and volume up down buttons here on the headphones. And these have a good range in terms of sizing. It can go up and down a lot. But I kind of wish this was a heavier duty plastic if I were to kind of be a little bit critical right there. Let me see here. Now I think we're on the right ones. Let's see if I can get this to play. Okay. Those are some pretty good mids and highs. Some pretty good overall audio quality. I do like the headphone feel as well. Like these are very lightweight and very comfortable on my head. I do have a large head. I think this is my head is about as big a head as going to fit really comfortably on here. If you have a really big head, these probably won't work. But I love that this is so lightweight. It would definitely sit on my head comfortably for many, many hours. So yeah, so those are the headphones. I would say that in terms of audio quality, are in the good but not amazing audio quality. Like it's only a $50 headphone. I feel like they sound really good for $50 is the way I would describe it. You know, it's like some headphones obviously you can spend upwards of, you know, like $1,000 on a headset if you want, but I feel like that headphones get you most of the way there in terms of audio quality. And it does have the Lightspeed technology as well, which is nice because that means that it's not going to have any delay if you're going to play with video games with it. Malevolent ran with the $10 super chat. This is going to be very interesting versus the budget 40-50 options. Great vid, Brandon. Thanks. This is going to be very interesting. I totally agree. All right, so next up on the unboxing, real quick, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this 220. Let me switch the. All right, we're going to take off this. We're going to back the camera up a little bit more. There we go. I don't usually unbox things this big. And thanks again so much for the super chat. $10 super chat's just awesome. Thank you. All right. All right. And let's see what this monitor is like. go ahead and... Wow, this thing is a monster. It's such a big box. I mean, it's 32 inches, right? I'll have to do this on the floor. It's such a big monitor. All right. So, wow, this is really light. Or maybe I've just been lifting weights a lot. Nice. Okay. All right, it looks like we got one of those complex stand things for the back. So we'll have to get that out. Let me go ahead and clip the mic for right now to my shirt. Should help with giving good, consistent audio quality. So again, this monitor right now is on sale. It's normally $400, and right now it's $229. Link in the description. And thanks again to Best Buy for sending this over for me to check out. All right, so we got a lot of stuff. This is a complex unboxing process. A lot of little manuals here. Let's go ahead and get all of this unpackaged first. There we go. So there's the power adapter for the monitor. An HDMI, that's nice. So you get an HDMI and you get the power cable and a DisplayPort cable. So HDMI, DisplayPort, and power cable. And quick setup guide. I just want to know the right order for putting this together. Looks like they recommend putting this onto the bottom of the stand first. So let's do that first. All right, so we gotta go ahead and take this and this goes onto here, just like that, and we've got looks like you can finger tighten this pretty well, but you probably would want to use some kind of flathead. If you got it. I got one right here, so I'll just go ahead and tighten this down a bit. There we go. Got a cable management piece of rubber here. That's kind of nice. All right. And then what else we got in here? We got these metal plates that go on the back. Oh, these are plastic, actually. Interesting. All right, so there's that, and then that's going to go on the back of the monitor itself. Okay, so this needs to go into the back of the monitor. Looks like it pops in. And then you screw the plates on the back, or you screw these this thing on the back. Yeah, so here's the setup instructions right here. So I can get it to focus on that. So first we're going to put the stand on top of the pillar then that goes onto the back of the monitor, and then the plastic bits go on after that. So it looks like it recommends using the box itself here as a means of setting the monitor up. But I think I'm going to do this on the table, or try to do it on the table here. So the lighting is a lot better. This thing is very lightweight. And I want to show you the inputs on the back of this monitor real quick as well. So we've got a, looks like the power adapter port here on the left, a display port, then 2 HDMIs and a USB-A and a headphone port. So it's pretty interesting. All right, and then to put this stand on here, pretty sure we just need to go in and down, and wow, that snapped right in, no problem. And then we got our plastic covers, which are kind of interesting, different. I'm not sure if there's a protocol for putting these things on. It's the first time trying to put this on here. Top is in. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so I'm guessing we gotta put these together actually before. Then it slots in and then it rotates. Okay, so you guys couldn't see that. So the plastic bit, you just you put it together right here behind it. It goes just like that. And like that. And then there are some slots back here, and you just rotate the whole thing, and it kind of locks into place. You like rotate it about a ½ inch, and now it's locked into place. And now it should be safe to pick up. And I believe we are mounted now. Wow. This is a honking monitor right here. It's big. Oh, and it's got an articulating stand too. Let's see here. Can we zoom this out here a little bit? There we go. All right, let me rotate this. There we go. And man, it's like a little TV. This is a freaking massive monitor. All right, so let's go ahead and put some of this stuff away. We'll grab the cables. Cool. And I'd like to turn it on if I can, briefly, just to see the image quality of it. Checking chat. Kevin says, this is a laptop I've been eyeing for so long, but I think the 7700S version will be better performer. Well, obviously, it's got a bigger number attached to the laptop GPU, so it's probably going to be a better performer for sure, but yeah, we'll have to see. You know, the most important thing for me with this laptop is what does the man, I really need to get a new lens on this. You know, what does the actual performance look like against the competition? You know, because if you're going to spend $899 on this laptop, then I would think that you'd want it to be right competitive with an RTX 4050 primarily. So yeah, we got the HDMI cable here. We got the power cable here. Let me just go ahead and plug this in and rotate this around. We'll plug this in and plug this HDMI in as well. Okay, so our HDMI is now plugged in. Let's hook the HDMI up to the monitor on my Blade 18. There we go. Beautiful. It's blocking the camera. Okay, and is there a power button here? Oh, I gotta plug it in. Wait, no, I did plug it in. We are plugged in. Do we have juice? Is there a power button on this Samsung monitor? Oh, there. Ah-ha. And hey, look at that. There we go. We've got our Samsung monitor now. So this is the Samsung G5. And let me see if I can go ahead and just, wow, it's such a big monitor. And this is, I believe, a 240 hertz. Let me see. I'm not sure if we can use the full 240 hertz with just the HDMI. Active signal mode is set to 4K, so we got to change the resolution. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we want 1440. There we go. Right? There we go. We can get it to 144 hertz with this HDMI. Oh, that looks better. Okay, there we go. And yeah, so that's the monitor right there. You can see it. It's I'm not sure if we can do a test with the Spider 5 Elite or not with this thing. Should we try? Chat, should we try? I don't know. Let's go ahead and... Do I still have Spider 5 Elite on here? I don't think I do. That's okay. This is clearly a good monitor. I believe it's supposed to be rated for 100% DCI P3 color gamut, and you can see it's got some good color range to the monitor itself. But I don't know if it's... I mean, it looks good. So, I mean, there you go. The monitor's working, got it set up. It took a few minutes, no big deal. Yeah, I'll have more thoughts. I'm tempted to do a dedicated live stream on this monitor, but man, I should try to do the Spider 5 Elite. So the tricky part is I don't have the Spider 5 Elite software set up, but I could install it real quick. Let's do it. So new laptop setup, and then we're gonna go to Spider 5 Elite. Let's just... Yeah, I don't think it was installed anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and install that real quick. Let me go ahead and check chat. So for anyone that's just hopping on the live stream, whoa, you can see the infinity. Whoa, that is cool. So we are currently Whoa, oh, hi. So we are currently just doing a quick unboxing of this monitor before we get into the Asus TUF A16. I'm just kind of checking out. This is a 32-inch monitor, only 229 QHD. It could be a very excellent combination with this laptop or with many other laptops out there. So I wanted to cover it and show you guys what's inside this monitor and what's it like setting it up. First impressions of the display quality are good. I mean, it's clearly a colorful monitor. I'm not sure exactly how bright it is. I believe it's if we pop into the actual information here, you can see it's the Odyssey G51C 32-inch LED QHD FreeSync with HDR10. So it has HDR10 support on it. And it's got a lot of positive reviews. And let me go ahead and see what the specifications are on this. So it's 165 hertz refresh rate, 2560 by 1440p resolution with FreeSync included. Supports 2 HDMIs and 1 DisplayPort 1.4. And it's supposed to have a 1 millisecond response time. So I think just on paper, at $229, this is tremendous value from a monitor perspective, especially buying an official Samsung brand monitor. At $400, I would say it's a little bit of a premium price, but at $229, I think this is a really attractive overall deal. And that's kind of my honest opinion about the initial impressions of the monitor and just getting it all set up. So that's what we're just doing a quick unboxing of. I think a lot of people will be interested in checking this out. So I really want to do this Spider 5 Elite if we can, and do a color check on this monitor, see how colorful it is and what the color gamut is. Because I mean, how else is someone going to actually know the proper specs of this monitor? And I've got a color checking tool right here. So yeah, I should just do this real quick. And so right now we're just waiting on Spider 5 Elite to get done. It looks like it's just finishing. And now we can go to Spider 5 Elite software. There we go. And we're gonna have to type in the passcode real quick. There we go, and there we are. I've got this right here. I can't say the code out loud, Brandon, because I mean, really, it's not that big of a deal. Because unless you have one of these tools, you can't use it, but still, yeah. All right, so there's the Spider 5 Elite software coming up. We'll do a display analysis. And there we go. And we're going to do brightness and contrast and color gamut. We'll begin the test. And let's see here. Just popping into the menu real quick. Let me zoom in on the menu here so you can see what menu options this monitor has. So FreeSync Premium is enabled. You can turn on a virtual aim point, which is cool. So you can see it right there. If I aim up a little bit, you can see the virtual aim point. So it's a crosshair for you to aim with, which is pretty dang helpful in certain games. And we'll probably want to turn that off for the image test because it's going to go right over the middle. And then we can adjust the brightness. Oh wow, it just got a lot brighter when I changed it to FPS, RTS, RPG. It looks like in custom mode it was, the brightness was only set at 42%, which is really interesting. I'm going to set a contrast to be 100% as well. All right, nice. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go ahead and exit that, and let's go ahead and start this monitor test. This will only take a minute or so. And I want to make sure this is nice and tight here in the middle. So I'm probably going to have to press against it the whole time. So doing a color check on this Samsung G51C. It certainly appears super colorful to my eyes. All right, and we're going to go and do the brightness test. And we're not going to worry about changing the brightness levels. We're just going to see what the max brightness is. So we're just going to hit OK on each of these. Beautiful. We just have 2 more tests to go. Okay, last one, and then we can see the results on this monitor, and we'll get back to unboxing the Asus TUF A16. And we're also going to go over all the competitors with the A16 as well. So, all right, so what did we get for our result on this? We got 97% of sRGB. Keep in mind, my Spider 5 Elite usually underestimates by about 7% compared to a lot of the other checkers out there. 97% of sRGB, so we're above 100% sRGB. 72% Adobe, 73% of the P3 color gamut. Let's zoom in here so you can see. And I'll try to rotate this. I like it. You can rotate the screen and raise it up and down. It's an articulating screen. A lot of functionality there. 72 and 72 for Adobe and P3 color gamut. Contrast rate, our brightness is 342 nits and around 1490 to 1 for our contrast ratio. So not the brightest monitor out there, not the worst contrast rate. That's a good contrast ratio at 1500. And the color gamut's also pretty decent, but it's not a super high color gamut display. But I think it's good for a budget monitor all around at $229. If you can get it on sale here at it's almost half price right now, then I think it's probably worth it. All right, beautiful. Let me go and unplug this monitor. And unplug this, and we'll get back to here. And let me plug this back in. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go, and cool. So, thank you, Best Buy, for giving us that sponsorship, helping support my channel. Links in the description to all of these products that we unboxed and checked out today. I definitely can recommend the G305 mouse. I've used it now for almost 3 years with my Blade 18, with my Legion Pro 7i or Legion 7i. I use it for gaming. I use it for casual stuff. It's not a super high-end mouse or anything, but it's a nice basic one that I can throw in my backpack and take with me anywhere I go. So that's why I like it. And it's, like I said, 0 latency. And then the headphones. I'm on the fence about the headphones in terms of like whether I can highly recommend them or not. Need more time with those to get a better idea about it. And the monitor, I'd say, is a really good deal at $229, but it's not necessarily the highest end monitor. It's good for a nice mid-range, low-end monitor for an external monitor, but it's a huge monitor, 32 inches, and it's fairly bright and pretty decent color gamut. Not the best color gamut, not 100% Adobe RGB or anything like that, but it's still very good. I think it's good for the money. That's probably the biggest thing. $229 for a 32-inch monitor. That's 100% Adobe RGB or 100% sRGB. That's pretty good value. Or I think that's really good value actually. All right. There's the monitor. Let's go ahead and put this back here. All right. And we are ready to continue with our unboxing of the TUF A16, which also was sent over by Best Buy. So again, big shout out and thank you to Best Buy for sponsoring the channel. And yeah, the biggest thing for today, of course, is the review of the Asus TUF A16, which I'm really excited about. TS with the €5 super chat. How is my Blade 18 holding up? Is flickering still there? How's everything else? Yeah, I still have flickering when I'm in the hybrid mode. But it's weird. It's not all the time. And I think it could be I think it's software related because it seems like it only starts happening at certain times. I got to figure it out, spend more time with it. But yeah, it's funny because I did a meeting with Razer. I did a whole meeting with Razer and the day of I did some updates and couldn't get the screen flickering to happen. And then I'm showing them like, okay, well, it's not happening now. And then later it started happening again, so I had to send a video of it to them. And they're trying to troubleshoot and figure out what's going on. It could just be my Blade 18. If it's not happening to other Blade 18s, then it's probably some kind of specific software that I have on my system. So real quick, let's do an overview of this laptop that we are unboxing today. So this is the Asus TUF A16, 165 hertz 16:10 aspect ratio. That's one of the distinguishing factors here that makes this one different than the F15, because the F15 has it's a NVIDIA based product with I think it has an Intel 12 700H CPU in it, whereas this has a Ryzen 7 7735HS and a Radeon RX 7600S, which is an RDNA 3 GPU that in theory, AMD touted it as being this big upgrade and everything, but I have not tested it yet. So I'm very curious to see how it holds up against the RTX 4050 laptops at $899. This thing sure is a tempting value proposition because, I mean, think about it. $899 is like, well into the budget-ish range, and you're gonna have a good overall build quality with this machine, I think. 16 gigs of memory at under $1,000, and a high quality, I think it's a high quality display, 165 hertz. So let's continue with the unboxing, but that's the rough overview of the Asus TUF A16. And this is gonna be really fun. It's gonna be fun checking out what AMD has done this year with Asus to create a new Advantage Edition laptop. I have reviewed the Asus AMD Advantage Edition Strix G15, which had the RX 6800M, and that thing was pretty good. I liked that laptop a lot, especially when it was on sale. It provided really good value. I wouldn't buy it at full price now, but back when it was on sale for the first time, like $11.99, it was like a phenomenal bang for the buck laptop. So I'm hoping that this one, especially now it's on sale for $8.99, is going to be a really good bang for the buck. So big shout out to Fraser with the $5 coins or whatever that is. I'm not sure. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Okay, hopefully it doesn't have quality control issues. Yeah, I hope not. This is just straight bought from Best Buy, so not previewed or anything other than me installing stuff on it. And I didn't encounter any issues when installing applications. So here is the box here. Let's see if I can get some light on it. All right, so activate the force. In a ruthless war, widely used weapons of mass destruction have devastated most of the Earth's environment. I mean, it's kind of cool, some silly, cool marketing. But yeah. All right, so here is the laptop. It's wrapped in a fabric cloth. And we've got a metal top lid. I love that. Opening this sucker up, it's got a nice firm hinge. Got another cloth here. Let's go ahead and set that to the side. And let's go ahead and put the laptop to the side as well. See what else we got going on inside of the laptop. Here is the power cable. Let's go ahead and see how long this power cable is. So it looks to be about close to 6 feet, just a shy of 6 feet, looks like, for the power cable. And then we also have the power adapter right here. And this has a nice Velcro strap for the power cable. And it's this higher quality, more malleable wrapped cable that Asus usually uses. And this is a, if you can see it right here, 240 watt power brick from Asus. It's pretty small and compact overall, very, very lightweight. I think a lot of people would appreciate the size here. So that's nice. And it's going to provide plenty of juice for a high-powered laptop experience. Let's check out the pamphlets in the box. Okay, so starting up, we've got the TUF Gaming User Guide. Showing. Yeah. So got some overview, some basic overview stuff about what's on the laptop there, what the I/O and ports are. You can pause this and take a closer look at it if you'd like. But we're going to take a detailed look at all of that information in a little bit. All right, so that covers that. Let's see what else we got in here. Safety precautions for your notebook. Only Asus certified technicians should remove the battery from inside the device. Yeah, so they have a few things there if you want to check that out. All right, and then congratulations on your Asus product purchase. They've got a support number here, 1-800-433-5778, or bestbuy.com/Geek Squad. If you buy this through Best Buy, you can get product support for the year of the warranty service directly through Best Buy. You can also go to asus.com/US support. Looks like we got another little manual here. Basically saying plug in your laptop, lift open the display and turn it on. It's very difficult to do steps. You got your warranty registration card here. You don't have to use this to fill out your warranty. You can use the My Asus app inside of the laptop to register your warranty to your email. But you can also mail it in if you're old school, I guess. Which is a little weird if you're a gamer, but I suppose it's just fine if you're that way. All right. So there's the quick unboxing. Let's go ahead and put the fabric away here, and then we'll close up the box, and let's take a look at the inside of the box. Or sorry, the inside of the laptop. We'll evaluate that next. Okay, so it's time to take this laptop apart. Do I use Windows 11 Pro or Home for your testing? Are there any advantages to Pro for performance? As far as I know, there is no advantages to Pro for performance. The main advantage of Windows 11 Pro, I believe, is all of the enterprise features. So we're going to use the iFixit toolkit to take this laptop apart. And looks like all we need is a standard Phillips head screwdriver. A smaller one, but not too small. I think a lot of the smaller-ish regular screwdrivers would probably work just fine for taking this laptop apart, actually. Okay, checking out other parts of the chat. How much is the monitor testing device? It's like $500 for a Spider 5 Elite. They're pretty expensive. And TS, yeah, your question regarding the Blade 18, I still love the laptop design overall, and all the functionality is just awesome on it. I love the speakers, I love the display, I like the keyboard feel, the thermals on it. Like, it's a great laptop. The ports are also excellent. I've been really enjoyed using it. Just the screen flickering issue is the main problem, and that just makes it so that I have crappier battery life because I cannot switch it into dedicated mode or dynamic switching mode. I have to use dedicated GPU mode to get rid of the screen flickering. So that's the only real issue that's been a problem for me. And I don't know that other users are encountering it. I've had several other people buy Blade 18s and they've not reported that issue to me. So it might just be my software causing that, but it might also be wider spread. I know Jared's tech ran into the screen flickering issue on his that he did tests on. So I know it's not just mine, but they did supposedly fix it with a software update. So it's weird. All right, and I'm guessing this one's a pop-up screw, which is why I waited to do it last. So pop-up screws, let's see if you can see it pop up the chassis up. There it is. So it creates a little gap right here, so we can pry the laptop open easier. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get the laptop pried open. Do you think the 7700S is much faster than the 7600S? I don't know yet. Have we seen a laptop with the 7700S come out yet and be released? I would have to compare the specs if AMD has released all the specs for both of them, or benchmarks. But I would imagine there would at least be some reasonable level of performance gap between the two models. You know? Like that, why would they release another higher end GPU if it doesn't actually put out better performance? So it's just a question of how much performance it puts out, right? Okay, so we're almost to the back side over here. Gonna go down this angle next. There we go. Beautiful. All right. Last time we were able to just lift this off. Yeah, we did. So once I did the front and the two sides, I just lifted the front up a little bit, and the back, the rear section, I did not have to pry the back off at all. It just kind of pops off. Honestly, prying the back off would be pretty difficult, I think. So, because it is like arced around. All right, so here is the internals. Voila. Let's go ahead and get the camera set up at a better angle. All right, so there it is. We've got a 90 watt-hour battery in here, and given that this has got a Ryzen, low power usage CPU in it, this battery life in this laptop is probably very good. I'm guessing over 10 hours of web browsing if it's optimized correctly, and the idling on this could be also exceptionally well. Cool. All right. Phantom says, can you test the display in Radeon settings to set full panel in order to fix 16 by 10 black bars? Interesting. All right, so I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Phantom, but when we get into the AMD software, you can try to explain what you mean again, okay? All right, so we got this black shroud covering, and it looks like it's got an additional kind of foil covering. I'm gonna try to take both of these off, if I can. There we go. All right, and see if I can get, ooh. All right. Our SSD cover is kind of coming up all funky like, so see if I can get it to come up better. There we go. Okay. So that's what the internals look like. We've got, let's do a quick overview. So we've got our speakers on the left and right side. And these speakers are like medium size-ish speakers, not necessarily amazing speaker size. But we'll have to see how they sound. And then looking over here, it's interesting that this speaker is not all the way to the edge. That might muffle the sound a little bit because the sound's going to have to basically go straight into the table here on this side. It's not going to be able to escape out the edge. So that may not be the best speaker placement, but it looks like they had to do that in order to fit all of these ports over here on the right. We got USB C's right here and USB A right here, and that must be the reason why. We got the headphone port right here. So interesting design choice there. We've got two SODIMM slots right here and right here. And that's going to allow us to have upgradable memory. This should have DDR5 4800 included with the RAM sticks here. And we've got another M.2 slot that's right here available for upgrade, just completely open. That means that this is a 512 gig SSD here. And I'm not sure if I can get the exact... It's got this like aluminum wrapped cover on it. Let's just pop it open and see if we can take that cover off. Ooh, that came off really easily. It's almost like a gum box container. Okay, so it's a Western Digital 512 gig, single-sided SSD, and our Wi-Fi stick, our Wi-Fi is actually underneath this, and it is a... Wow, it's hard to see. It's a MediaTek XB48. Sorry. It's hard to read that. It's like 4.8 or 4.9. All right, let's turn it sideways. I'm just going to let you guys see it better. And we'll zoom in on that Wi-Fi card here. So yeah, it's a MediaTek model MT7921 that's in this. MediaTek is definitely not a brand that I say is like a high-end brand. I prefer Intel Wi-Fi cards if possible. I would say they are a cheaper Wi-Fi card, but they've been working just fine in the laptops that I've been testing. They just, the thing I noticed about them is that they seem to have a little bit lower speeds for download speeds. All right, and I did not unplug the laptop's battery today, which is not technically what you're supposed to do, just so you guys know. I recommend unplugging the battery before you take the SSDs or RAM out for safety. Helps protect the motherboard. Since we've got this shroud off, let's see if we can get this RAM up as well. Looks like we've got these foil covers on this RAM. I don't know if we can get... the foil cover to come up or not. Show us what brand you are. Oh no, the sticker's gonna come up with the the sticker is coming up with it. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get the sticker to actually show us what brand this is. That's too funny. Okay, well, we'll have to just see if we can find out the brand in HW info when we get the laptop loaded up. All right, so we've reseated the RAM there, and we've got that back. We've got the shroud back right on there. That's good. Let's take a look at the thermal system. All right, so this is, of course, an all AMD system. So we've got the GPU, I believe, is here, CPU over here, and looks like we got VRM heat pipe coverage here, VRM heat pipe coverage up here, and then we've got shared heat pipes, two big shared heat pipes going between these two back exhausts, and then we have a dedicated heat pipe over here for the GPU on the left. And notice that we also have some intake foam things to help guide the airflow the way they want, to help prevent airflow from coming in over here by these fan exhausts, because all the air is going out there. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good overview of the inside. So we've got upgradable RAM, we've got two M.2 slots, we've got a 90 watt-hour battery. All of that is excellent in terms of upgradability and kind of giving you, as a user, some flexibility with what you want to do with the laptop. And I do like that. All right, so there we go. Beautiful. So there's the cover going back on. Everything is plugged in and put back together, I believe. That's good. All right, so I'm going to start popping this back together now. And I'm going to start in the very back. I'm just going to squeeze the back end together. And then I'm going to work towards the front. And I'm going to work towards the front on the other side. And I'm going to work my way over to that pop-up screw. All right, and I'm just going to double check that everything in the laptop is popped back together. Whoop, sorry, I hit the mic. There we go. And let's go ahead and set the laptop back down and get all of these screws back in here. All right, checking out chat. Framework 16 has been released with the 7700S. Okay, interesting. I'll have to look up some reviews and get a better idea of what that performance looks like. So I can be able to answer questions about the 7700S. That is one laptop that is very interesting. Man, they got a lot of hype going for that thing. All right. Phantom's gotta go to sleep. Hello. Okay, well, you can check the VOD at the end, I guess, or after it's all done. What's the TUF F15 like? Really good price to performance ratio the other day? Oh yeah, it was phenomenal price to performance ratio. I really liked it, and I can definitely recommend that laptop. Just in general, it was very impressive to me. So we'll have to see how well this one stands up, the TUF A16, because, you know, you're dealing with an all AMD chassis here with CPU and GPU, which is, you know, it's, let's face it, NVIDIA kind of knocked it out of the park in terms of frame generation tech in the latest titles. So that's probably the biggest question mark, is like, how well can this compete without frame gen? And of course, you know, AMD is still developing competing products, you know, FSR like 3.0 or whatever. So there's still a chance that AMD's going to be able to continue competing better and better over time, and this laptop could literally get more powerful, you know, if AMD releases a new version of FSR, but maybe not at the same time, right? So it's like that we don't know exactly how well AMD is going to pull that off. So here's the whole laptop. Let's go ahead and do a flex test going around the laptop. So just a little bit of flex here, a little bit more up here by the number pad arrow keys area. Not much flex over here. Very sturdy overall. And this trackpad is a glass trackpad. I like the trackpad. It's very smooth, high quality trackpad. Love that. Going up the left side, we have very minimal flex. A little bit of flex up here at the top. Not much. Very minimal, but there's some. And then almost no flex over here on the top right. Very little, no flex pretty much over here on the right side. The main area of flex is over here by the arrow keys and number pad, but it's minimal all around. It feels good. Let's do a quick up down on the keyboard here. Everything on the keyboard, I do this when the laptop's off. All the keys on the keyboard so far are feeling good. All are going in and out. Nothing feels loose or anything like that. So that's good. Can we turn it on? We might need to plug it in to be able to turn this sucker on. All right, so one thing that's pretty interesting is the status lights on this laptop. You can see them right there. It's an orange light. It's indicating that we're getting power right now. If I press the power button over here, notice that it switches to being white, and it goes in like this little pattern before the whole laptop turns on, which is kind of cool. I like that. All right, so the keyboard lights up with a white backlight. And as far as I know, it's not changed color on me. The TUF A16 was a multicolor keyboard, and this one has not been changing color. I don't know. So, switching real quick. And I also want to go ahead and flip this off now and flip this back on. And so there is all the things we're going to do today. We have done the beginning here, unboxing the laptop, checking the quality control, disassembling it, and now we're going to go ahead and analyze and review the ports on this machine. So let's do that real quick. So this is the tech specs page for this laptop. And if we jump down here to the specs, you can see it comes with one 3.5mm combo jack, one HDMI 2.1, two USB-A type, two USB-A 3.2 Gen 1s, one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C, and then that has DisplayPort and power delivery, and then it's got one USB 4 Type C with DisplayPort. So you've got one USB 4 on this machine, which is nice. You also got an Ethernet port right here. Very nice. So USB 4, of course, being similar specs to Thunderbolt 4, but without Thunderbolt 4 certification. So you're not going to be able to use all of the Thunderbolt 4 docks and everything out there, maybe eGPU stuff, but it's got similar specs. So in theory, a lot of the same things you can use Thunderbolt 4 for, you can use USB 4 for. So on the right side here, we've got, let's see if I can get the camera to focus. We've got our USB-A 3.2. All right. And then on the left side, we have the majority of our ports over here on the left side. And you can see we've got our power adapter port. This can rotate around. So if it's like this, it'll block your Ethernet. If you go it like this, it blocks the fans a little bit. So you kind of got to pick your poison. You might be able to also just make it kind of go up, I guess, so nothing is blocked, but it depends on how you set it up. So we got our Ethernet port, our HDMI 2.1, are USB-C, two USB-Cs, and one of these is a USB 4. I'm not sure which one's which. USB-A 3.2, and then our headset port, which is a combo port right there, okay? So that's our port selection. And overall, I kind of wish it had one more USB-A or maybe USB-C, perhaps on the other side. It would have been a good place. And there's no full-size SD card reader, which is another downside as far as ports go. You can see the laptop's got some nice lines to it, right? Like it's got some good lines to this machine. And it looks pretty dang good, I think. I like this kind of high-quality plastic material. This is the same material. It feels the same. It's like the same material as on like the Scar series, or very similar to it. And I like it. It feels clean. It's not too gamery, overly gamery. But at the same time, it's more military, I guess. It's got more of a military design to this. And I like that. I like it overall. All right. What's up, Ed Meyer? Welcome to the stream. Asus specifies a 32 gig and 2 terabyte storage limit on the A16, but I've seen 70. Yeah, you should be able to go to 64 gigs on this, and obviously all the way up to probably 16 terabytes of SSD space. Just not baked in or built in or whatever. So on the front here, there are no ports, of course. On the back, we just have our fan exhausts. So we've got fan exhausts on all sides. One on this side, two on the back, and we got one over here on the right side. All right. Cool beans. All right, so next up, we've got webcam quality. There is no Windows Hello with this laptop. So let's go ahead and check out that webcam. All right, so we'll zoom in on the webcam here. First impression is not amazing. Like the fact that I cannot read the Lumix right here is not good. Usually I can at least read this, all the letters on it. And then I guess that helped a little bit, not having it be too overexposed. Let's go and take a photo. Took a few photos there. All right, so zooming in, you can see there's very little detail on the hair. This is a 720p webcam. It's very grainy all around, and this is with some pretty strong front lighting. So I'd say it's a very weak webcam, below average even, compared to most other laptops. You know, maybe it's just average for gaming laptops, like for this low-end gaming laptops. But yeah. Not an amazing webcam. Overall, very poor and poor color replication. And there is no Windows Hello as well. So no Windows Hello as far as I can tell. I can double check that, but let me just see. Yeah, no option, no IR option here in Windows Hello. So yeah, there's no Windows Hello with this laptop. And let's talk about the keyboard and mouse, do an overview of it. So the trackpad here is a nice size. It's a very clean glass trackpad. It feels great on the fingers. And yeah, I really like the trackpad. It's got a nice feel to it. It feels exactly like the Scar series trackpads. It feels certainly above average for an $899 laptop. All right. I've been doing a lot of these more budget-friendly laptops lately, and a lot of them do not have trackpads this nice. Now, the keyboard layout is, it's lit up by a white backlit keyboard. You can control the backlight using FN. Let me go and zoom in a little bit over here. You can control the backlight using FN plus F2 and F3 to raise the brightness and dim the brightness. So you can turn this off if you want to, but it's very businessy anyway. So I'd probably usually keep it on. Now, in terms of the actual illumination of the keys themselves, the backlight looks good. Everything is lit up, even the secondary areas of the keys here. I can turn the lights off and we can take a little closer look at the backlight. So there we go. And yeah, the backlight, very bright, very vibrant. You can see all the keys. Everything's illuminated better than even the Strix series this year. Weird that they can't make the Strix, the very more expensive lineup, have a better looking backlight, but the TUF series this year is good. You know, all of the keys have pretty even backlighting and it's bright. You can easily see it. The functionality here, F1, we got a mute, keyboard brightness down and up, Aura, which is the button to switch the different modes. You can see I can do breathing, we can do strobing, and we can do static. Those are the three options. It's not much. We've got our fan profile button to switch between performance, silent, turbo, or manual. This will usually not get you into manual mode. You have to do that in Armory Crate. Screenshot there on that button on F6. Going across all the rest of the buttons real quick. We've got brightness up and down for F7, F8. Monitor button for F9. Disable trackpad, put the laptop to sleep. Airplane mode. And then we have a full-size number pad. And this number pad is very good. It's got a nice layout to this number pad. And it, yeah, even the enter key has a calculator hotkey. Which is kind of cool, I guess. And it's a nice standard layout for the number pad with large enough keys that you can kind of easily do this from finger memory if you're using a number pad or if you're used to using a number pad. And then the arrow keys here have home and page up, page down functionalities built into them. You just press the FN key at the same time and you can get those additional functionalities. So yeah, good all around keyboard. Now the keyboard, of course, is on the, I would say, you know, it's kind of like this membraney chiclet style keyboard. It's nice and soft feeling, and it's got a nice key travel to it, and it's fairly quiet. You can hear the, it's not going to be too loud if you're going to type on it, even if you're kind of hammering it. Yeah, I really like the keyboard layout overall. You also have a little bit of addition functionality here at the top. You've got the volume down and up, mic mute, and Armory Crate launch button up here. So you can just press this and it'll launch Armory Crate, which we can go over right now. So Armory Crate is an application that you can use to control the laptop. And real quick, let's go ahead and turn these lights off back here, so we can see the screen a little bit better. All right, so Armory Crate has 4 different modes down here. You can use Windows, which is the default Windows power profile, but usually inside Armory Crate you go between silent, performance, turbo, and manual, okay? And manual mode settings will only take effect if you click the save button up here, okay? And there is a GPU fan speed option and a CPU fan speed option, but there's only one power limit setting, which is like, I believe, a combined power limit for the whole platform or just the CPU. So just the CPU can go to 80 watts and the combined platform can go up to 120 watts for the CPU and GPU put together. So interesting design choice there. So let's just leave it in turbo mode for now. And let's talk about some of the other things here. You got some stats being displayed in this area. If you go to the right here, we've got GPU mode, which is a little bit important. You've got 4 different potential modes here. You've got ultimate mode, which is what we're in right now. Standard mode, which allows you to switch between the integrated GPU and dedicated GPU. The ultimate mode does not let you do that. Ultimate mode only lets you go into GPU only mode. Basically, it's high-end GPU mode all the time. Eco mode, I believe, is just... I believe eco mode is just the integrated GPU. So in order to go into this mode, you have to switch back to standard. And then you can access this mode. Right now, this is kind of grayed out, and optimized is also grayed out as well. And then there's a couple other settings in here which you might want to pay attention to. You've got your Windows key activation, AC key, touchpad disable enabled, panel power saver, which lets you switch to 60 hertz refresh rate when you unplug the laptop, and AMD Smart Access Graphics. Note, when enable AMD Smart Access Graphics, the system will automatically switch between the integrated and discrete GPU during the to drive the internal display, and the screen may freeze for a few seconds. So this is like a mux switch, essentially. And you'll notice that when I activate this, it says a reboot is required. So this is not the same as Advanced Optimus. This is more like a mux switch, requiring a full restart, which is interesting. All right, so almost all of Asus's laptops have had Advanced Optimus, which does not require a restart, but this laptop does. So that's one distinct difference between this laptop and some of the other ones out there, okay? From Asus, at least. Nice. Mr. Alexander says, my wife owns this new Slim 7i. It's very nice, but we had to repad it and put in a new fan. Quality from Lenovo this year is meh, sadly. Yeah, well, as long as you got it working better now, I guess, right? And hopefully you didn't have to do that yourself. Hopefully Lenovo covered that, I would hope. I don't know. Okay. So, what else we got to do here? Let's go ahead and go to our checklist, make sure we're moving down the line here. It's time for our display test. Let's find out how bright and colorful this Asus A16 display is. All right, and do we have our... I want to also get the mouse out here. There we go, and... Cool. All right, and let's go ahead and launch our Spider 5 Elite software, and we're gonna have to get the key put in here. Beautiful. Thanks so much for everyone that's watching, by the way. I'd invite you to go ahead and like the live stream. If you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for your support. Let me go ahead and get this code put in. And we can get on with the display test. Very nice, very nice. Okay, so here we go. Let's go into our display analysis. Do our brightness and color gamut tests. Just verifying our screen brightness is all the way max. There we go. And let's see what we do. Rawl says, out of all the budget laptops you have reviewed around this price point, the TUF laptops really seem to be one of the best. We will have to see if performance holds up versus the others. Yeah, well, I'm also very curious about the display here. Like, how bright is this display getting and how colorful is it? So we'll have to see. If Fraser says, Asus prefers that you use your phone as a webcam. That's kind of funny. It's true. Well, they did that, especially in 2021. They had like no webcams on any of their laptops, which was just, I think, absolutely so silly. And Raul, yeah, I would agree that the TUF laptops in general seem like really great bang for the buck, at least on paper. The F15 was certainly an excellent choice when it was on sale. Even a very good choice even when it's not on sale, I think. But yeah, we'll see. Mr. Alexander says, will you compare to NVIDIA with DLSS 2 or DLSS 3, though? Well, we're going to do testing of this laptop primarily focused on just seeing what the performance is like with, you know, FSR 2. And yeah, I think it'd be valid to do a comparison with both, essentially. But in the games that support DLSS 3, it's almost unfair for the NVIDIA laptops to not do the test with DLSS 3 enabled, because, I mean, that's how gamers are going to play, most likely. Unless it's a competitive shooter type of a game, I think almost everyone's going to play with frame generation enabled. That's what DLSS 3 is. So, yeah. I think that's honestly going to be the hardest sell point or tough point for this TUF A16, is that if you're playing a AAA game primarily, then frame generation is a tremendous value for those types of games. If you're primarily playing competitive games like Apex Legends, CSGO, Warzone, I don't know. I think that this laptop's going to be extremely competitive on that front. So we'll have to see. All right, let's check out our results. All right, so we got 97% of sRGB. That's excellent. 72% Adobe RGB, 73% of the P3 color gamut, and keep in mind that my color checker is usually about 7 to 8% off, so we're really talking about around 80% for Adobe and P3 color gamut here, which is very, very good, and above 100% sRGB for the display color gamut. And our nits brightness is 293.4, so almost 300. Most likely, if you were to check around the screen in different areas, you'd find a value over 300. But in the center, 293 nits, 1200 to 1 contrast ratio. So very good contrast ratio. And almost 300 nits with 100% sRGB, which translates to a very good overall display quality for this laptop at the $899 price point. That's very good. I mean, obviously, my laptops, I prefer, if possible, to go to 400 nits as a minimum. But, this is an $899 laptop, which puts it in a more budget-friendly range. And this is still very bright and very good all around for a $899 laptop. So, good job, Asus. You didn't cut the screen quality too low for the to make it applicable to a lot more majority of gamers or whatever out there. So I think this is going to be an excellent overall image quality. Let's go ahead and take a quick gander at the blacklight bleed and also a video showing some really colorful imagery so we can get a better idea of what the display looks like. All right, so here's our backlight bleed test. I should probably switch to that first. There we go. Okay, so now I know we're in focus. All right, now we're gonna turn off all the lights again. All right. So this is all that light there is not. That's the RGB lights behind me, kind of coming through off the screen a little bit. We got just a little bit of backlight bleed in the top up here, a little bit up here. Very minimal backlight bleed on this unit, almost zero. That is really good on the backlight bleed front. Great great all overall quality in terms of backlight bleed. TS with the €5 super chat. Thanks for the answer on the Razer Blade. Do you know if the mini LED laptops like the ROG 16 still have the HDR failure issue? I believe Asus told me that they had updated the driver on the HDR stuff. So that was just a driver issue and it was just temporary, I believe. And I sent them a link to that specific instance where it failed for me. So I can't remember. I didn't follow up with them. I have not retested it, but it's probably fixed, but I don't know for sure. I have not verified it. I always take it with a grain of salt until I know for sure that it's fixed. So yeah. You could try asking some other SCAR 16 users and see if it's been fixed. Let's do our... OLED example video here. All right, and close this. Make sure we're at max brightness. We are. Let's go ahead and play. And we'll zoom in a little bit and focus in. Yeah, this thing's awesome. The display quality is very rich. It's got like you look at this display and you think, yeah, I'm not really gonna miss too many colors. Like it's not as vibrant, of course, as a higher color gamut display, but it's still very good, and I think it's very accepted, like very, very good for an $899 price point. So it's obviously not as good as the very best, but it's good. It's very good. So good job, Asus, on screen quality. And this is bright enough that you're gonna be able to use this in a little bit brighter environments as well, but really not like daylight hitting the screen type environments, more like bright room environments. It'll still work really well. Okay. Let's move on to our next thing. Speaker test with with decibel meter. So, and then we'll do our fan noise testing. So we're going to scoot this back. It's time to find out how good the speakers are. All right. So starting out, we're going to do Deuce Williams. I guess first we should check out Dolby Access, which I try to show you whatever image or audio applications. This is Dolby Access. You can see it up here in the top left, Dolby Access. Usually dynamic is our best audio mode on Asus laptops, but at least for these types of tests. But we could try also this music balanced, which is the default. So we'll go ahead and start Peter Spacey Roar. All right, and let's go ahead and switch between some of these. You know, game mode is the loudest. I'm pretty sure game mode is the loudest. Also, notice that there is in game mode, there's performance mode, which prioritizes positional accuracy for competitive gaming. So we should switch it to the game mode when we go to game. When I'm like playing Apex Legends, I'll try to listen. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our audio test. We'll just do dynamic. For now, let's go and do our baseline level of audio. (43.7 decibels). Let's go ahead and start this Peter Spacey Roar. So when I close the door, it goes down to like 41.3 decibels. So just keep that in mind, because I have that fan just outside the door. Okay, so not that punchy of bass, not super clear highs and mids. It's distinctly on the cheaper side for these speakers, I think. Okay, Faded A on Half-Life. That sounded a lot better. That song definitely suited these speakers better. Peter Spacey Roar is just a very bass heavy song, and this laptop does not have that much bass, but the mids and highs sounded pretty decent. I'm gonna be honest. All right, La 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 Love You Like by Deuce Williams. Yeah, the vocal clarity is pretty good. The mids and highs are decent, and the overall volume is decent. We saw 86.7 decibels on the decibel meter, but I think the clarity could be a lot better. And the bass is a particular area of weakness on this machine. It's not very punchy. So I think overall, I'd probably give these speakers like around a 7.5, which is just a little bit above average, just a tiny bit above average. You know, it's like, it's not that, yeah. These speakers are not high-end speakers. For $899, they're decent. You'll definitely be able to play some games and hear some audio with games, but the speakers on the higher-end Asus laptops are much louder and have a lot better clarity and more punchy bass and stuff. So yeah, definitely more budget-ish on the speakers. So cool. It's time to move on to our fan noise testing. So for that, we're going to load up we're going to need to load up hello. Oh, you guys get that view of my ear? Rawl says they seem decent for 900. Yeah, they are decent for 900, but I've heard a little bit better at $900. You know, like the Omen 16 speakers were definitely a little bit better for 900. All right. So, first up, excuse me, we're going to get Time Spy loading up. Malevolent Rand says, MSI needs to learn from Asus. Budget doesn't have to mean garbage screen. Though to be fair, Asus just turned this around. I'm not sure what you mean by Asus just turned this around. Did they used to have really garbage screens? Is that what you're trying to say? I feel like Asus screens on the budget side have always been a little bit above average in terms of quality, but I'll lower this down just a little bit more. Cool. Let's go ahead and make sure that Afterburner is running. Keep in mind that I have lifted the rear of the laptop a few inches, or not a few inches, but like about a half inch. So we have just a little bit of extra airflow going into the laptop, which is what I would typically recommend for you to do if you can. You can always just set the laptop up on the power adapter or some other thing to just to elevate it a little bit. Asus used to have bad screens, especially with their VivoBook OLED. 829 for a 3050 and T600H with 600 nit OLED HDR screen. That is pretty insane. All right, so we're gonna do windowed mode. We're gonna loop the second graphics test. We're gonna go ahead and run this. Beautiful, beautiful. We should be all set there. inside of Armory crate. All right, let's start in max fan mode. All right. So we're going to be in maximum fans. We're going to see how loud it gets, and then we're going to slowly get quieter and quieter, and then see how hot it gets and what power limits and all of that we're going to see. Okay, so looks like I should probably turn this up to 16. Sure. Okay. So we're on max fans right now. We are pulling 83 watts for just the GPU, 116 for everything put together. So if you want to know how much the CPU alone is pulling, you minus these two values, I believe, and that's how much the CPU is pulling. So in this scenario, the CPU is pulling about 27 watts for time spy, which is pretty typical for that Ryzen 7 7735HS. All right, so initial temps so far are looking pretty good. 71 degrees on the GPU, 84 on the CPU. Let's see how the temps balance out as we continue to add more time and a little bit more heat saturation can occur. I'm gonna go ahead and just scoot the power adapter back a little bit. All right, and I'm also just gonna tilt this up. All right, so it looks like our CPU temps are climbing up a little bit. We are at 89 right now, 90 on the CPU. 4.5 gigahertz on that CPU, the Ryzen 7 7735HS. 74 degrees on the GPU now. So we're still not thermal throttling on the CPU or GPU here during manual fans. And we're doing 2300 gigahertz, or 2300 megahertz, I mean. 2300 gigahertz would be insane. 2300 megahertz or 2.3 gigahertz on the GPU clock speed. Interesting. So this 88, I wonder what temperature this is. I should check Afterburner. We got two temps up there for that GPU temp. Oh, okay. So we got to take that off, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So that was the temperature for the CPU being displayed twice, basically. So our GPU temp right now 75 degrees, CPU temp 92 degrees. Looks like we're getting pretty stabilized here. We're doing about 45 FPS here in Time Spy. Let's go ahead and check our fan noise now. .9 decibels on max fans? Are you serious? Are we sure we're on max fans right now? That is so quiet for a max fan. Yeah, look, we are on max fan. Wow. Oh. Wait. Oh, these are some presets that you can do. If you want, you can have some presets in here. That's cool. But we're just going to set this to max fan again. We have our power slider slid all the way up to max. So 77 degrees on that GPU, 94 degrees on the CPU. We're getting closer and closer to thermal throttle territory on that CPU. But I think we're not going to hit it. But still, that is some pretty spicy temps, right? Like those are not super cool temperatures on that CPU for sure. Rawl says, I remember my 2021 G15, it would ramp them fans to max. While gaming, it sounded like it was going to take off. Still, my CPU ran at 90 degrees Celsius while gaming. Interesting. I'm a bit sad AMD didn't stick with the approach from the 5000 series to give lower TDP and still decent clocks performance with the 7000 series. 92 degrees Celsius and above is pretty hot. Yeah, so this is, we're still not thermal throttling, but this is on the hot side. I would agree that this is on the warmer side. And it looks like we're going to slowly creep up right to that thermal throttle level. And I'm curious if we can open up HW info, get a little deeper dive on what's going on with the sensors in particular. So here's our core temps. Interesting. Our core temps, none of our CPU cores are actually close to thermal throttling, only 85 degrees. Right now, on average, I think it's 82. Nothing's above 90 on our max temps. So something else is up there. We can also see that our CPU power right here is only, the core power for the CPU is only doing 24 watts, 23 watts. So this, I guess this is incorrect in terms of its temps. MSI, I'm not sure which number MSI is reading from. Okay, so it's reading this number right here. This number seems to be lining up with this number. Super interesting. I'm not sure exactly why that we have such a disparity between the core temps here. I guess this is the package power. This might be factoring in everything, all the parts of the CPU, not just the cores. So yeah. But overall, these temps are warm right out the gate, which is not ideal. You know, we're hitting close to that thermal throttle territory on the CPU. Let's jump down, take a little closer look at the GPU down here. 78 degrees on the GPU, 88 watts of power directly to that the GPU, 92. So yeah, the wattage is reading correctly. That's good. Yeah, and our GPU temps are overall good. That's not an issue. The GPU temps are not an issue. The CPU temps are the only area of concern so far during this initial test. And this is on maximum fans, right? Now, keep in mind, the maximum fans really aren't that loud. At 50.9 decibels, less than 51 decibels is so quiet for max fans. That's the one thing I will say that's in favor of the laptop right now. Let's do one more quick test to verify that. .5 decibels. Insane. It's so quiet, but at the same time, temps are a little bit higher. Temps are definitely higher than I would usually prefer, for sure. That said, we're not thermal throttling. This is a laptop that would probably benefit from a laptop cooler like the IETS GT500, so that's cool. All right. Well, that's not cool, but that is the temp. It's a little bit spicy. All right. So let's try turbo mode. So we're switching over here to turbo mode now. And keep in mind that we were doing a whole total of 120 watts with about 90 watts to the GPU before. Let's see now in turbo mode. So total wattage 117, 82 watts over here. We are hitting 95 degrees Celsius now. So I believe we're thermal throttling now at 95 degrees now that we're not doing max fans anymore. And I got to say that's not ideal, right? This is not the ideal thermal territory you want to be in turbo mode. That said, I mean, the laptop will run fine at these temps, probably for many years, no issues. But still, it's usually not preferred to be close to thermal throttling because, you know, right now I'm in an air-conditioned environment. And if I took this laptop out into a warm environment, or if I live in an area where there's no air conditioning or whatever. Less ideal environments will thermal throttle even more, right? So 95 degrees, 93 degrees, 92. I mean, it's still putting out good performance. We're in the 4.2 gigahertz on the core, 4.5 gigahertz on the core, 78 on the GPUs. GPU is still just fine at not thermal throttling or anything, but the CPU is the only real area of concern. Big Foig Boy says, this is the first time I'm seeing the CPU using more watts than the GPU. So this is not the total. This is the total wattage of the GPU and CPU put together. This is the so it's weird because it's an AMD system, all AMD system. This is the total system wattage. This is the GPU specific wattage, and this means that if we're doing 91 watts here and 121 watts here, then we're doing 30 watts of power to the CPU for our total system watts, approximately. So yeah, don't get confused here. We're not doing 120 watts through just the CPU. This is the total wattage right here. Fraser says, how does this performance compare to the 145 watt 6800M G15 from a couple of years ago? I'm pretty sure the 6800M has higher levels of performance than this one. We'll have to actually see when we do our time spy tests, but I'm pretty sure that the 6800M would be a little bit faster, probably like 20% faster than this guy is my guess. Okay, 95 degrees Celsius for our turbo. Let's go ahead and see how the fans are now. So just shy of 51 decibels still right now. Let's go ahead and switch it over to performance mode and see what that's like. All right, so performance mode should power limit throttle our GPU and CPU down to a little bit lower levels of performance, but at the same time, hopefully still give us good all-around performance, hopefully. All right, so here is performance fans and thermals. So you can see that we're doing 95 total watts through the whole system, which means we're only doing like 15 watts to the CPU now. 82 to the GPU, 15 to the CPU. And this is a Ryzen chip. I think it's a 6 nanometer Ryzen chip, so it should still be very power efficient and be able to give us pretty good gaming performance with only 15 watts. But at the same time, CPU-bound games, you probably wouldn't want to do performance mode because performance mode is going to really limit your CPU performance for those CPU-bound games. I hear the fans of the laptop getting quieter now. All right, so that's good. We're getting quieter fans. 74 degrees on the GPU, 76 on the CPU. So these are good temps now. We finally hit the right balance of temps on this laptop. That's great, and this gives us enough wiggle room, knowing that if we're in wherever environments, warmer environments, non-AC environments, we can still get good levels of performance. And this is going to be, this is probably going to be 80 to 90% of the GPU levels of performance, and probably 60 to 70% of the CPU levels of performance. Given our, I think it might only be 50, 60% of the CPU level performance with performance mode. We have to actually do some tests to see, but yeah, definitely reduced all around performance in performance mode. But the temps and the fan noise, I think, is going to be a lot better. Let's go ahead and see how loud the fans are now. (47.8 decibels for the fan noise. That's good. That is fairly quiet now, and we've hit good temps as well. So my guess is that if you're wanting to get the right blend of temps and performance, you probably want to do manual mode here and set the CPU only load. You could just reduce this down. You could say down to, let's try 25. I don't know. How does this look for max fans? Well, I'm not sure. I think this is probably going to keep our temps below 90, I think, with max fans enabled. Yeah, and this is probably if you're going to go for high performance mode, just setting the CPU to 25 watts and the overall package power to 120 max. It's going to give the GPU all the room it needs at 92 watts of power. And the CPU just takes 5 less watts of power, giving us a better blend of temps and performance. So this is probably what you want to do for max performance mode if you want to keep your temps in check. Alternatively, you could also use a laptop cooler. Let's go ahead and try silent mode. So silent mode should severely reduce the power going through the laptop, while at the same time also reducing the fan noise. Let's see how it does. 72 degrees right now, 74 degrees for the GPU, 72, 73 for the GPU, CPU right now. Very good temps now on the GPU, CPU. 62 watts of power to the GPU, 75 watts of power to the total system. So only about 13 watts to the CPU right now. 2.5 gigahertz on the CPU clock speed, 2.7, 2.2. So really power limiting the GPU and CPU down quite a lot. We went from 2300 megahertz on the GPU clock down to 1800. So that's going to be 1700 there. So this is probably only like 65% of the total GPU gaming performance being put through the GPU, and probably only 40% of the CPU performance going through the CPU in silent mode. But it sounds like the fans are super quiet. Wow. Let's go ahead and see how quiet these fans get. I'm very curious to see. So here we go. .8 decibels is phenomenal. It's very, very quiet in quiet mode, silent mode. So the thing is, you are giving up a lot of your performance to go into silent mode, a bit more than I would say is usually ideal. Like a lot of the RTX 4050 machines we've been testing lately, 4060, 4070 machines, they've been able to keep probably 75, 80% of their performance even in more silent-y modes. So this is probably, this is still going to be great for casual gaming. You know, if you're okay with 60 FPS or older titles, you can probably go to still high FPS gaming with this. But yeah, 72, 74, great temps in silent and performance mode, and nice blend of fan noise acoustics. It's just almost like the fans are not ramping to their max possible fans. I don't know. Interesting. So very interesting all around fan profiles. Let's go ahead and run Time Spy now. And we're going to go into manual fan mode. We're going to raise everything up to max. Beautiful. And we're just going to do our regular old Time Spy run. This is going to be a synthetic benchmark test that gives us a good idea of all-around GPU performance for raw rendering performance. All right, so let's go ahead and just get into the Time Spy test. Mr. Alexander says, meanwhile, I play Diablo 4 on 30 FPS because I don't want an airplane engine sitting in front of me. What? Really? That's funny, man. No, I need at least 60 FPS for me to be happy with my game, whatever game I'm playing. Usually 90 is like kind of the minimum I try to go for typically. LSP says get headphones. You tell him, LSP. Yeah, I usually like I would use headphones under typical circumstances if I've got a loud laptop. Okay, so here we are. We're in manual mode, maximum fans. Let's see what our performance looks like. 68 FPS in these opening scenes. Not terrible here. That's actually pretty good. Pretty competitive with an RTX 4050. A lot of the RTX 4050s doing around 50, 60 FPS in this opening scene. So initial impressions are good in terms of raw GPU performance. 121 watts going through the system, 4.5 gigahertz here on the CPU, 85 degrees on that CPU. You know, we did see thermal throttling eventually in TimeSpy, so we probably would see thermal throttling if we let TimeSpy run over and over again, but we probably won't see thermal throttling because TimeSpy is not going to run through multiple loops over and over. Malevolent Rand says, if I could accept 30 FPS, I'd play on console. Laptops cost too much to slum it like that. That's true. I mean, if you just want 30 FPS, you could just use a Steam Deck, right? Or like maybe an Asus Ally, ROG Ally or something. That'll run almost every game at least at 30 FPS. All right, so 116 watts going through the whole system, 85 watts on the GPU, 70 degrees on the GPU, 86 on the CPU. Let's see if we get up to thermal throttling before the end of this test. The ROG Ally is said to be insanely good. Yeah, I have been using the Asus ROG Ally. I did a detailed unboxing review of the ROG Ally, and it was very good overall, I think. The biggest issue with it, of course, is battery life. Being a handheld device, that you really don't get that good of battery life, which is kind of like a catch-22. So if you really want to have extended gaming sessions, you probably got to take a USB-C charging bank with you or something to just keep it plugged in for extended periods of time. Like if you want to game for 4 or 5 hours, you'll need a USB-C charging bank. But other than that, yeah, you could play almost every game. Almost every game that I've tested in 2023, except maybe Jedi Survivor, it technically was playable, but it's just not the ideal settings. But almost every other game was basically at least 60 FPS on like pretty good settings. ROG Allies are melting SD cards. Yeah, I've heard there's been some issues with that. I have not personally encountered any issues with that myself. And I have ran quite a few games off of the SD card, but not usually. I'm using the SSD. Okay, we finished our TimeSpy run. Let's see what we got. $9,232. CPU score 10,013. So if we were to compare this with some of the RTX 4050 laptops out there, right? So the Lenovo Legion gaming pad here, this is currently on sale for $899, the exact same price as the TUF A16. You know, it's getting 8,400 in TimeSpy. So we're getting almost 800 additional points with the 7600S, the Radeon RX 7600S. Now, the big thing, of course, with the RTX 4050 is it does have frame generation support. So in the games that have frame generation support, it's going to have a big boost to smoothness and FPS, or at least perceivable FPS. Let's go ahead and check a couple other RTX laptops. The MSI Cyborg with an RTX 4060 This thing only got 7,544. Now this is only a 45 watt RTX 4060, but it's on sale for $799, so even cheaper than the A16. 7,544. I did do a hands-on with this one and everything, and it was pretty interesting. I mean, it's not a bad laptop, at least in certain situations. Like it got playable frame rates in almost every game we tested, but yeah. So overall, you know, I think we're getting good time spy performance. Let's see if we can find a good 4060. So here's a 4060 with the G5. Let's move on to a high watt. So a high watt 4060, you know, this one is 10,600 for the MSI Bravo 15. It's $999 though. This was on sale, I believe, for $899 though, pretty recently. So 10,600 is obviously quite a bit higher than 9,232. But overall, this is competitive in terms of raw GPU performance, at least in this synthetic test. Now we got to actually do some games, and I plan, not in this live stream, but I plan doing a live stream comparing this side by side with some of the RTX 4050 laptops. So yeah, that's coming up. Time to move into Cinebench R23 and see how this thing handles. The CPU rendering and CPU cooling in a CPU only workload. Now LSP is going to be super hyped because guess what? Doom Eternal is on the test bed for today. I have knocked off CSGO for today, and we'll try out Doom Eternal for today. So you better give me some hype there, LSP. All right, so let's go into Cinebench R23. We're going to do Process Lasso. All right, so checking out chat. Sherelle says, hey there, Gizmo. Do you know if the Strix G18 can set a world record benchmark in Firestrike EX over all the others? I believe you're talking about Strix G18. It could probably set one above all the other RTX 4080s if you get the right silicon lottery and you tune it right. But I don't know about setting overall. It's certainly not going to beat RTX 4090s. Okay, so we're going to set Process Lasso to above normal, priority for Cinebench R23. And then we're going to go and do some one-off tests. Let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. And let's also move this around a little bit, and we'll expand this to be a little bigger. There we go. Okay, so we can see our core clocks. We were starting out doing 4.79 gigahertz. Now they're down to 4.2 gigahertz. Our power going through the CPU, let's pull this up for our core temps. Our package power is doing 83 watts. We were maxing at 96 watts going through the CPU. Let's go ahead and see what we get for our consistent package power over the long haul. 95 degrees. We have reached thermal throttling almost immediately on the CPU. Let's see what we get for our test. 13,832 for our first test. Let's go ahead and get a second one going. Starting out 4.2, 4.3 gigahertz. And our package power doing 81 watts of power. We are thermal throttling again very quickly. So there's not much of a buildup in terms of our thermal throttle capability, but that's because it's really slamming this CPU really hard, and there's only 3 heat pipes on that CPU. So, you know, it's not like there's a ton of thermal headroom. And the fact that we can even do 78 watts of power going through this system is pretty good. And an $899 system, 78 80 watts of power going through the CPU is good. That is very good, but the temps are not great. 95 degrees is certainly above average, or just basically reaching thermal throttle nonstop, and we are basically being thermal throttled down to 78 watts when this system seems like it wants to pull a little bit more wattage. 13,947 for our second run. And yeah, and then we're on max fans right now as well, so it doesn't really get much better than this unless you added a laptop cooler, and then it would get better. We would get more performance. You could also undervolt this CPU most likely with either XTU or G Helper would be the two undervolting tools for this Ryzen processor. So, okay. Amateur asks, is there any coil whine? I have not heard any coil whine on the system so far. Silent mode, performance mode when the fans are quiet and we were under load. No coil whine, which is good. Someone said, wasn't the sweet spot for 4060, 4070 at least 80 to 90 watts of power? Well, we broke 14,000. That's good. Yeah, the 4060, 4070, the sweet spot is really more like 105 watts. The RTX 4050 is more like 90 watts. That's what I've found, basically. Occasionally, RTX 4060, 4070 will pull like 115 or 120 watts, but typically, in most loads, it's me doing between like 100 to 105. Sometimes dropping down a little bit below that. Okay, so let's go ahead and reset our values here. So we'll get new averages and new maximums for our power package. 87 watts of power there initially. Pulling 4.2 gigahertz across all 8 cores. This is an 8-core, 16-thread CPU, if you are not aware of that. Overall, this is good CPU performance for an $899 machine. I mean, let's do some comparison shopping, right? So the MSI Bravo with the same exact CPU, it's going to be doing around about the same time, about the same. It says 13,000 there. That's just an estimated value. Let's see if we can get some actual numbers here. $899. This is the system we're testing right now. Wow, the Lenovo Ideapad has the same CPU, so it should be about the same. But the MSI Cyborg has an i7-12650H. In Cinebench R23, it only did 10,600. So you're getting like 40% more performance than the Cyborg with this laptop. The Acer Nitro 5, this is a very good bang for the buck system, but in Cinebench R23, it's only getting 13,100. In the Acer Nitro 5 with the i5, it's getting around 14,700. So just a little bit more than this machine, but it does cost more at $999. It's no longer on sale. The Lock 15 costs $160 more, but it's got the upgraded Ryzen 7 7840HS, which is a Zen 4 CPU. And that one does 15,700, but you got to step up in price as well for that. So I think that this is clearly demonstrating that we've got good CPU performance for your money. The main issue here is the thermal throttling. Now, if you didn't want these temperatures, 95 degrees, you can go into Armory Crate and you can limit the power to be a little bit lower, right? Like we're seeing that it's basically being power limited throttled at 77. So instead of letting it just run to max, you could just power limit it to say 70 watts. And that should keep us below the thermal throttle threshold, probably somewhere in like the 85 to 95 temp range, but should be below the thermal throttle. I'm guessing 85 to 90 degrees, most likely. So overall, I mean, yeah, this is far from bad value in terms of CPU rendering performance at this price point. Okay. Checking out chat. I saw some comment earlier. I wanted to respond to it, but I was busy commenting on the benchmarks. One was that like it's a shame that AMD is not competing with RTX 4080 and 4090 laptop GPUs, and I totally agree. It's the reason why RTX 4080 and 4090 laptops are so expensive. If AMD was competing with the RTX 4080 and 4090 better, then NVIDIA would not be able to sell them for so much money. So they'd have to knock the price down, you know, another few $100 to keep it competitive, because AMD would probably be undercutting them. Yeah. Okay. So checking chat. We can only wait for Lenovo Legion 7 Pro to be out. Yeah, I wish that would be really nice if it was out. Varad says, wish more laptops would use Zen 4 CPUs. I believe for laptops, energy consumption and efficiency should come first. And in that terms, AMD blows Intel out of the water. In general, I do tend to agree with you, Varad, for the Zen 4 chips. The only issue is with the Zen 4 chips, almost every single Zen 4 chip I've tested so far has hit 95 degrees Celsius, nonstop thermal throttle. Even the Zen 3 ones too. Like Zen 3 and Zen 4, they just go straight to 95 degrees Celsius and they just sit there in thermal throttle. And they put out pretty dang good performance. You know, we're doing 75 watts, 76.5 watts of power through the CPU. It's not like it's bad levels of performance. We're averaging 4.16 gigahertz on these things, but they run hot. Almost all of the Ryzen CPUs run hot. And I personally attribute that to their very small architecture. That's usually, it's either 4 or 5 or 6 nanometers, depending on which CPU it is. And that's just smaller than Intel's, and that results in a smaller CPU die for the heatsink to go to. So it just dissipates the heat less quickly than Intel. And Intel is just better at dissipating the heat because you can put a bigger heat pad on there, which lets it, you know, dissipate the heat, transfer heat better. It's just like laws of thermodynamics, basically, at that point, I believe. That's my analysis right now, at least. I think that's probably the biggest reason why Intel laptops, they pull more wattage through the system, but they also dissipate the wattage really well, usually. Better than the Ryzen chips. Almost all of the Ryzen chips run hotter. Doesn't necessarily, and that's the thing, like, people usually don't like having their CPU run 95 degrees Celsius because it's thermal throttling, right? Oh, it's thermal throttling, and that's like the boogeyman that people are afraid of. But in reality, these laptop chips are designed to run at 95 degrees Celsius all the time anyway. So it's unlikely that this is going to kill your laptop anytime soon. Like, AMD knows that these laptops are designed to run at 95 degrees Celsius. Asus knows that these are designed to run at 95 degrees Celsius. They know that users are going to run this at 95 degrees Celsius all the time, and they expect that, and they expect the laptop not to die. They expect the laptop to be able to keep chugging for years. Otherwise, they wouldn't warranty the product. Otherwise, they'd have a bunch of broken laptops on their hands, and they would be like, losing money. And obviously, that's not happening. So 95 degrees is obviously not ideal in terms of what people typically think about CPU temps. But on the flip side, imagine that Asus had limited the power limits to only 60 watts. And, we get good temps. But then our core clocks would be like 3.6 gigahertz across all the cores or something. And we'd have much reduced performance. And at least the way Asus and AMD have tuned this, in Armory Crate, the user can control what power limit they want, and if they want the CPU to run cooler, they can. And that's probably the nicest thing about how it's set up. But obviously the downside here is that it's clearly not dissipating the heat well enough to let the CPU really run to the maximum clock speed. And that's where a laptop cooler would probably help boost our CPU performance with this laptop. So I think I would definitely recommend getting a laptop cooler with this Asus TUF A16, because you will literally get more performance out of it because you will hit less thermal throttle. And it'll allow the CPU and GPU to run a little bit spicier. Sazed, can you review the Legion Slim 5 2023? The Legion Slim series is one of the laptops I want to review. It's just, I'm doing like 3 laptops a week right now. And I just got to keep getting through all the laptops, and I got to sell the old laptops that I have on hand. And as money comes in, I can buy new laptops to keep rotating and keep bringing in new laptops. So it's just a matter of time before I can do it. But I would like to do at least 2 of the Slim laptops, maybe the Slim 5 and Slim 7. Malevolent says, the Zen 4 Ryzen 9 HX also gets worse battery life than Intel's 13th gen flagships, which no one saw coming. That's true, because the 16-core 32-thread part is like very power hungry when it's idling. So you're not really going to get more than 3 or 4 hours of CPU of battery life under typical web browsing scenarios. Louis says this is popcorn worthy. I'm assuming you mean we can pop popcorn on the CPU. I'm pretty sure. That's probably true. Mr. Alexander says, because Intel still works on 10 nanometers. Yes, that's correct. Malevolent says, what month did the Ace Advantage Edition actually launch? Go look. Oh, wait, spoiler. It wasn't January, February, or March coming out of CES. Yeah, I think it was like June, something like that. I did review it soon after it launched, so back in 2021, right? LSP says that the smaller CCD, total smaller die size on the 7945HX than the i9HX processors. Yeah, I think that is accurate. Okay, so we got 4.13 gigahertz, 95 degrees Celsius, and averaged 74.5 watts of power through the CPU during this 10-minute Cinebench R23 run. We would get more performance if we undervolted and added a laptop cooler. Let's see what we get overall. 13,941. So that's obviously good. That's obviously good. Good for an $899 laptop. Not bad at all. Sweet. So, we have done Cinebench R23, fan noise testing, speaker testing, display testing, all of these. We've done all of this. Time to move on to our game testing. Apex Legends time. All right. Thoughts on the Framework 16? Looks like it has cool potential, but I don't think it would ever be a laptop for me, probably, because it's not going to fit the highest end CPU GPUs like the RTX 4090s. So, but from a budget gaming perspective, it's probably a pretty decent option. Yeah. Like if you want some future proofing and you want casual gaming, it's probably a decent option. But it is, I believe, sold out for like a year out. So it's pretty much a non-option for anyone. If you want a laptop within a year, right? Which I think most people do. Okay, it's time to rearrange everything here to be a little bit better positioned for Okay, so it's time to see what kind of performance we get here, all right? And now that we're going to be gaming, I am going to make this a little bit smaller again, so I can aim. Okay, so 1900 by 1200 resolution. We're currently on high settings. We'll hop into the firing range. Wow. All right. 170 FPS right out the gate. 150 FPS now. 120. 140. A little bit of frame time stuttering there. You see that? You really don't want that when you're aiming down sight. It's probably because it was like the first time zooming into that area. I think this display is pretty dang good. In terms of its responsiveness, there's just a tiny bit of ghosting to it. Like if I move the screen real fast, you can kind of see it. But it's not bad. And if I go ahead and switch it over to low settings and see what our FPS was, you know, we're getting 140 approximately on high settings. Now we're on low settings, 232 right now. It's even smoother visually speaking. Yeah, that's some really good frame rate in Apex Legends. 228, 191, easily maxing this 165 hertz refresh rate at 1920 by 1200. Wow. So really great performance out the gate. Let's see what we get in Gun Run, which is going to be, you know, a little bit different test because there'll be a bunch of players in one area and it's a different area of the map. Buchada says, is the RX 7600S better than the RTX 4060? I would say that the RX 7600S in this laptop is only going to be better than the low power limit RTX 4060s. So like the MSI Cyborg, which is currently on sale for, you can see right now the Cyborg has an RTX 4060 and it's currently on sale for $799. It's only a 45 watt RTX 4060. It gets much lower FPS in Time Spy. And in terms of gaming performance in a game like Apex Legends, you're going to get way more FPS with the RX 7600S than that RTX 4060. But if you were to look at like some of the higher power limit RTX 4060s, you know, like on the Lock 15, that's one's going to be like a good performer and arguably faster than this RX 7600S. So it's just going to depend on which RTX 4060 you're getting. But in general, in the majority of RTX 4060s, it's going to be pretty competitive, but the 4060 is probably going to be a bit faster on most laptops. And it will really depend a lot in the game, too. Certain games are much better optimized for... certain games are much better optimized for Radeon or NVIDIA drivers or GPUs. So... Okay, so we're hitting 95 degrees on the CPU nonstop, 71 on the GPU. So it's really slamming that GPU. You know, we're getting a little bit of stutters here and there. I'm going to go ahead and refresh our frame rate. This is the first time. This is the first time inside of this map area. Usually, when you're going into Apex Legends, you might get a little stutter here and there as you go into load new regions. We're going to toss a grenade down there. We're going to try to do a flanking maneuver. Flanking successful. Flanking really successful. I don't want to do that there. We got shot from behind. So 215 FPS in gameplay, but we are getting these little stutters here and there. 30 FPS for our 1% lows, which is interesting. So far, my team is winning, I think, because I did my flanking maneuver. Can you get this laptop for battery? Can I get this laptop for battery life and performance? Well, this laptop should have really great overall. Oh, we snaked that kill. This laptop should have really great all around. Battery life, almost for sure. So, wow, we got annihilated. Even though our 1% low is only 45, it's only happening occasionally. We're getting hit by poison. Slaying it. You know, it makes me wonder what's causing those 1% lows. Wow, we are doing the murder. Someone else took that kill. A bit of stuttering there with the smoke. Oh, that was rough. Oh, shit. Oh, crap. I scuffed. Okay. Witchsting says 120 watts to the CPU. That's not true. This is the combined wattage right here. This is the GPU wattage. The CPU is only doing like 30 watts right now. The difference between those is how you calculate the CPU wattage. All right. Overall, wow, really great performance in Apex Legends, and it felt great. Minimal ghosting on the display. You're going to be able to play esports on this pretty dang well. And Jay says, can I get this laptop for battery life and performance? Let me see if I can answer that question a little better. Yes. This is going to have really, really good battery life to the laptop because we got a Ryzen chip in here that's very power efficient. You've got a pretty power efficient display. And then as long as you're using optimized browsing and other optimized apps when you're doing battery life, you should be able to get like 8 to 10 hours pretty easily. If you don't optimize very well, then yeah, no, you're not going to get that good of battery life. Probably only like 4 to 6. But if you optimize well, I'm thinking 8 to 10, maybe even a little more. I saw some users' battery life tests of being like above 15 with they're just idling or whatever. But yeah, so the battery life on this has potential for being insanely good. Yeah. Is the power comparable to Intel CPUs? Well, I will say that the Intel CPUs are quite good. Like the i5 chips are quite good in single core threaded type applications. So in terms of multi-core performance, oh yeah, this Ryzen chip is very competitive. In terms of single core applications, this one I think is very close, but maybe just a hair behind depending on which Intel CPU it is. But it's very close in terms of gaming on single threaded. So 1920 by 1200, 165 hertz refresh rate. We're going to do minimum settings. AMD FSR set to quality. All right, so a little bit different than what we typically do, because usually we do DLSS on quality, but we can't do that on this system because it's of course an AMD system. But otherwise, we're going to be on minimum settings to try to maximize our FPS here at 1920 by 1200 resolution. So definitely getting some big load-in stutters there. What does the 7600S equate to NVIDIA-wise? I would say it's it's slightly more powerful than an RTX 4050 is basically my initial impressions. In certain titles, it might be quite a bit more power efficient or more powerful, like probably Red Dead Redemption 2. It's going to be more competitive with like a 4060, maybe a 3070 Ti type of a range. But then if you were to jump over to, say, a frame generation based game and running frame gen, then even an RTX 4050 would beat this in frame generation games if you're planning on using frame gen. But games like Warzone, Apex Legends, Doom Eternal, those don't have frame gen. Those are going to be just raw graphics performance. And I think ray tracing is another area where NVIDIA probably has a bit of an edge. If you're planning on using ray tracing in your games, they're going to more negatively impact your FPS than with an NVIDIA GPU. Do you download these games every time? I used to, but a lot of the laptops I've been doing lately have had pretty bad only 512 gig SSD sizes. Right now we're getting a lot of load-in stutters. Look at all these frame time load-ins. Like this is real-time stuttering right here. Look at everything loading in. Okay. Super interesting. I think it's going to get all loaded in and then it'll be good. But every time I turn the mouse a little bit, it's like, okay, got to load everything else in. So recently Warzone 2 did this whole optimization thing where everything is all messed up. Oh, this guy's going to kill me. Yeah. So, yeah. Wow. Super stuttery for some reason. Warzone 2 recently went through this weird optimization stage. Maybe I should just skip Warzone 2 testing and just go straight to Doom Eternal. I don't know. I did do a quick load-in test because I wanted shaders to be optimized. Did we check if shaders were optimized in... Let me see. Oh, it looks like shaders were not optimized again. Like I let the shaders optimize this morning, and now shaders are not optimized. That's probably why we're stuttering. All right, let's see what this is like. We'll do non-optimized and then we'll do shaders, and we'll see if that improves things. I think it will. Look at this. We're doing 80-something FPS now. 90 FPS as we're flying in over everything. So, and everything's nothing's stuttering anymore. Super weird. Super weird. Attrition says super playable. Remarked says, man, these CPU temps worry me. Really, AMD really lets it rip. Yeah, so like I said, these CPUs are designed to run at 95 degrees Celsius all the time, and AMD knows that these temps are happening, and they're warranting the product, saying it's not going to be a problem. So I don't think it's going to be a major issue, but at the same time, it's certainly something that I think a lot of people would be concerned about. Okay, so everything seems to be running really well right now. Let's go ahead and do our test. 84 FPS, 55 for our 1% lows. That is actually really good. This is better than most of the RTX 4050 laptops that we've tested recently. you know, they've been getting, some of those only got like 60 FPS. Some of them got like 90. So it just depends. Wow, we're already being shot by someone? What? Ah, rip. Okay, well, we're going to go to the gulag anyway. I was like, how did I not die? I got shot like 7 times. It was because he was using a pistol. Oh, we're gonna totally kill you. We're gonna get you. You're mine. Wow, a lot of people are dying. So it said we're up next. So let's go. How is this guy hitting me nonstop when I'm running away from them? They have a cool skin. Okay, here we go. They got us.
You lost the fight. Return to base.
What? He was above me? What is this?
You hit us hard that time.
Okay, 98 FPS, 52 for a 1% low. All right. So we're going to move on. We're ready to do Doom Eternal. First time testing Doom Eternal. This is going to be fun. This is a request courtesy of LSP. So everyone can thank LSP for this test. He was very obsessively asking for Doom Eternal over and over. So I gotta say the Warzone 2 performance was good. I didn't play very well, but the performance of the laptop was good once we got past all the stuttering. I don't know what that was. I'm guessing that was due to the shader optimization or something going on in the background, because everything was stuttering as we looked around the map. But then, I don't know, once we got into the map, everything was fine. It was weird. All right, Horde mode. We'll do a new game. Nightmare. I need to beat Doom Eternal. It's one of the games I was playing recently because it was on sale. And then I started playing Witcher 3 and got really distracted with Witcher 3. But it's one of the games I plan on playing. Okay, so we gotta press space to continue. Okay. Okay, so currently, let's check our settings. So currently at 16 by 10, 1920 by 1200, adaptive vertical sync, motion blur is on, ray tracing is enabled. Okay, ray tracing is enabled. Quality is on ultra nightmare, which is the highest setting. I'm pretty sure ultra would obviously be way better FPS than ultra nightmare. But let's see what we get for our FPS, okay? So even on ultra nightmare with ray tracing on, we're still getting playable frame rates. Jeez.
and feast on his flesh.
Let's see if we can kill a couple things, and then we'll. Yeah, this is definitely a game where I would want more FPS than 50. So we're averaging 60 there. Let's try turning off. Let's just turn off ray tracing. Let's just try turning off ray tracing. Ultra nightmare. Now we're doing 140. This is so much better. Oh God, we're about to die though. I'm not good at this game yet. I have not practiced it enough. Extra life activated. All right. Yeah, I don't know how, like, you gotta like get more ammo or something with the chainsaw, I think. But yeah, 130 FPS. It's very playable. Doom Eternal's awesome. Playing really, really well. Okay, next game, God of War. Let's keep it moving. LSP, I hope you enjoyed your benchmark. Zen 4 desktops would target this temperature as the target. Why does the screen have circles? My lens cap cover is... It's cracked. You know, maybe I just gotta totally crack it out. I don't know. That's probably what I gotta do right now because I can't get the... My camera fell over, the tripod fell over, and then this, you can see it in the camera. This little lens cap cover is cracked. Unfortunately. Okay, so display. We're at 1920 by 1200. We have FSR set to quality. Beautiful. Let's go to our graphics. We're on ultra settings. And RTX 4050 in this game gets around 45 to 55. A 4060 gets up to like the 65-ish range, okay? So once again, quite a few load-in stutters. Interesting. But we're seeing some pretty dang good FPS here and there. There's a lot of little stuttering going on, you know, like, but it seems like it's smoothed out now that we're loaded into the environment. All right, so here goes our test. 62 FPS off this initial run with no reduction to our 1% lows almost. Oh, as we go to a new environment area, more stutters. Interesting.
What did you find?
Tracks. Not deer, though. I'll keep looking.
Wow, so 64 with 1%, 7 for our 1% lows. Oh my God, that's so low for our 1% lows. I'll bet you if we did it again though, it would be much better at 1% lows. Suspect stuttering is not enough VRAM. Actually, we should have enough VRAM. I just think it's not loading in. It's not preloading it or something. Because look, we're only 6.2 gigs on the VRAM, but we have 8 gigs of VRAM on this GPU. So we still have extra VRAM. So I don't think it's VRAM. Something else is going on regarding loading in. I think it's probably a driver optimization issue if I were to guess. We have enough RAM right now. We're only using 10 gigs of RAM. We're only using 6 out of the 8 gigs of VRAM. And yeah, once again, we did a second test, 6558 with our second test. So it's like once all the environment is loaded in, it's good. But I bet if we were to keep going, we'd probably run into more stutters.
More tracks?
Yeah, but they're too round. Could
Yeah,
go outboard.
some more stutters. You see the frame time stutters there?
Oh, now what?
This way, boy.
Interesting. So obviously extremely good FPS. That's in the same ballpark as an RTX 4060 in that game. God of War, love that game. It's so, the atmosphere, everything about that game is so good. All right, into the Cyberpunk 2077. Let's go. Will I get the framework laptop with the 7700S? I would love to, Todoroki. I think, but right now it's sold out, so I don't think I'll be able to buy it myself. I'd have to probably email Framework and see if I can get them to send me the laptop for testing. I'll bet you guys would love to see it, right? You would love to see that thing be put through its paces, so I can tell them the subscribers want to see it. But they're probably getting a lot of requests right now for review units, so we'll see. Remark says, if you force limit CPU wattage, do you think you'd always be able to pull full power GPU to get better performance? That's a good question. I mean, I think we're getting good GPU performance in God of War. Let me check the VOD real quick. I mean, we're pulling 91 watts, 93 watts to the GPU, which is as high as it goes. So I don't think that's going to help anything. So full screen is enabled. For graphics, we're doing a ray tracing on Ultra. FX super resolution to quality. We'll apply that. All right, so this is the same way we test all the other laptops. Ray tracing on Ultra. Let's see what we get. All right, so this is a game where the RTX 4050 pushes like anywhere from, I think it was like 55, 50-ish on the Cyborg up to, you know, with frame generation, up to 75. So only 27 FPS, 11 for our 1% low. You're not going to be able to do ray tracing in Cyberpunk 2077, at least at these settings. This is definitely not going to be very ideal playable frame rates. I mean, theoretically, you could play a 20. It's like at the bare minimum, but it's like, this is not good. 32 now. Yeah. So, you like, the first thing you'd probably want to do is just turn off ray tracing. Maybe set things to high. Yeah, so I mean, if you're trying to play this game, you're just going to have to probably go for no ray tracing in a game like Cyberpunk 2077. Notice our VRAM is being capped at 8 gigs. We're hitting that 8 gig cap. Our CPU temps are still spicy, over 90. We ended up averaging, it's not showing up there. Let me see if I can get it to show up. .3 FPS. If we go to high, DLSS on quality, all right. Let's see what we get on high settings, all right? Running ray tracing on this GPU is worse than my 3050 Ti due to no DLSS. Interesting. This game has FSR. That's what we have. We're running FSR on quality. That last test was with FSR on quality. So 86 right now. Much better FPS here on high. Once you turn off ray tracing, we're getting good playable frame rates now. Again, FSR is on quality. .93 FPS, 77 for a 1% low. Excellent 1% lows, which means, I mean, this is going to be excellent all-around gameplay, right? Like, this is going to be a very smooth experience. Keep in mind, there's no frame generation, right? If this had frame generation, it'd be like 140, but it's a Radeon GPU. So 90 FPS, 65 for our 1% lows. Very nice. Let's go back and get into a little fight here. High versus ultra is not much difference in games and waste FPS. Yeah, that's usually why I set it to high when I'm trying to go for a higher FPS in Cyberpunk. And then, of course, disabling ray tracing. The game still looks good on regular. So we've now encountered an area of the game where you pretty much have to change the settings. Like if you're wanting to play the game smoothly, you're gonna have to turn some settings down. Wow, that loaded very fast. Okay, so I've just reset the FPS counter. I gotta say, that guy died so easy. Super smooth gameplay right now.
Gas is still crawling. Clean it up, clean it out. Don't want to be bringing the target out under fire. Definitely don't want to slugging it back.
Okay, so 93 FPS, 77 for a 1% low. Excellent all-around gameplay. You know, if you wanted to try maxing your FPS, we go down to the low settings with quality on FSR. Let's see what we got. 125 on low settings. All right, so, and the game does look a bit smoother now at 125. There you go. Cyberpunk is certainly going to be playable, but it's not going to be playable at max settings, where an RTX 4050 with frame gen is going to be able to play it at ray tracing enabled and everything. So there's a trade-off right there, where an RTX 4050 has a distinct advantage in that game. Okay. NVIDIA GPU is better with DLSS support. That is going to be true in some games for sure. Frame generation supported titles going to make a big difference. For gaming, AMD, NVIDIA, no difference. I mean, I think there is a big difference for AMD and NVIDIA. No frame generation, obviously, it's a big difference. But there's obviously plenty of games, like you know, obviously 99% of games don't have frame gen. If you look at like the vast thousands of them, there's only like 35 right now that have it. It's just that a lot of the popular titles that people are playing most right now does support frame gen. So that's like your trade-off. And knowing that there's going to be a lot of laptops in the future that will support frame gen, you're going to go, should I get this or not? And a big part of whether you should get this or not, I think, is from a raw GPU performance perspective, this is better performance than an RTX 4050. But when you factor in frame gen in AAA titles, a 4050 will beat this in a lot of games that have frame gen support. But in the non-frame generation supported games, I think this is going to win a good chunk of the games. Like in God of War, we saw about 10 more FPS with this laptop, which is like a 20% gain. That's just one example. Apex Legends, we saw, I think, more FPS than we've ever seen with the RTX 4050 in this. I'm pretty sure, but I have to actually see it side by side to verify that. But is frame generation partner with Microsoft? No, it's in frame generation is an NVIDIA technology. So Grift GFX says frame gen isn't real. Yes, technically it's not a real generated frame. It's an AI generated frame. But in terms of visual smoothness to someone playing a game, it is in every sense like a real frame, in my opinion. Like you're seeing it visually, like it's on your screen as if it's real. Okay, the laptop has not locked up, but I think Hogwarts locked up. Because we are not seeing any progress on the bar there for some reason. I'm going to restart Hogwarts. Maybe it would have been just fine. I don't know. There's obviously a lot of controversy around frame generation, like because like you said, they're technically not totally real frames. They're like AI generated frames on the fly. Why is CPU power very high? My God, that's because this is a combination of GPU and CPU power right here. This is not just the CPU power. If you want the CPU power, you need to minus the GPU power minus the CPU power to get the correct. So like right now, the CPU is pulling like 30 watts right now. Because you minus the 45 from the 65. That would be like 20 watts there, but now it's like 40 watts to the CPU. How many games support frame gen? Last time I heard it was 35 games, but I think they keep adding more. I think they've added more since the last time. That was like 5 months ago. They supported 35 games. The thing about the frame generation supported games is they were almost all of the most popular games, like The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, the new Spider-Man game. What other ones? There's like several of the games. Oh, Hogwarts, the game we're about to test now, supports frame gen. So basically, NVIDIA really targeted the developers making some of the games they predicted would be the most popular to make sure they implemented frame generation support. So, all right. So we are in 1920 by 1200 resolution, but we are running FSR 2 on quality mode. VSync is off, frame rate is uncapped. Everything's on ultra with low textures and ray tracing is enabled. So this is the same exact settings that we usually run the laptop with. RTX 4050s, what are they getting? Like 60 FPS usually in Hogsmeade. And RTX 4060, 4070, like those get like, 70, maybe 80, 90 FPS. And then RTX 4080, 4090s, we're getting like over 100 usually, like 110, 120 range. So this is no frame gen. Those numbers I just explained with RTX 4050, 60, 70, 80, 90, those numbers are with frame generation support. So with extrapolated frames. This is no frame generation support. All of the frames here being generated are real frames. So obviously some really hefty 1% low stutters going on here. 40 FPS right now. So the game is playable with everything maxed out. Notice that our VRAM is 7.4 gigs utilized, even though we're on low textures. Wow, that was a big stutter there. All right, so I always do a run through Hogsmeade up and down the path before we go up the path for our benchmark run. Just so that the game has a chance to load everything in once, at least. All right, so here we are. Here's our official benchmark run starting at 45 FPS. It's going to go down lower than that, I think, but yeah. So certainly playable, but the first thing you'd probably want to turn off would be ray tracing. And once again, once you turn off ray tracing, I think the whole game would probably jump in FPS over 60. 3720. 3720 for our FPS counts here. A good amount of stuttering. Our temps are pretty high, very CPU bound with all the NPCs here and all the textures. We might be running into VRAM limitations, even though we're on low textures. It's crazy. All right, so yeah. The key here is, let's see, we're gonna have to restart the game if we were to do this, but turning off ray tracing. Let's see if we get a big FPS bump, even though, yeah, it says to restart the game, but look at that. We are getting much improved FPS. Wow, turning off ray tracing really bumps the FPS. So just using standard shadowing, now we've got a playable game. Big stutter there, but generally speaking, the vast majority of numbers here are quite good. So with no ray tracing enabled, let's do another run through. $65, $36, $37, yeah. Turning off ray tracing, boom, playable. All right. Very nice. All right, so next game, Dead Space 2023 remake. Very demanding CPU game. I'm assuming we're going to have 95 degrees Celsius temps all the time. Grift GFX says ray tracing is overkill for mid-range GPUs in general, to be honest. Well, that's the thing. In the games that support frame gen, you can turn ray tracing on, usually, and still have over 60 FPS with frame gen with all max settings, even with an RTX 4050, at least at this resolution. So it's going to depend on how badly do you want ray tracing. If you're okay playing your games without ray tracing, and I think, honestly, mini games look arguably better without ray tracing. The Witcher 3 is one of them. Ray tracing kind of makes the shadows look a little weird sometimes. So depending on the game implementation, sometimes ray tracing is not good. But for the majority of games, I do usually prefer ray tracing to be on, but honestly, it's hard to notice when it's on and off in most titles. So that's why I'm saying, I think for most gamers, it's okay if there's no ray tracing. And as soon as you turn off ray tracing with this GPU, the frames skyrocket. You get really playable FPS. So, and that's even on some higher settings. Ray tracing is a waste of FPS. Yeah, that's generally true for a lot of games, but it depends. You know, yeah, a lot of people who have high-end GPUs, they're like, yeah, ray tracing, woo, because they can still get like 100 FPS with ray tracing on now with the new GPUs, at least the new laptop GPUs for sure, and the new desktop GPUs, of course. Okay, so it looks like it's just finishing up here. Notice that we're getting quite a bit of like loading stutters once again. Like we saw this in Warzone 2. We saw the load-in stutters with God of War. I wonder, you know, I wonder if this is just going to be a consistent pattern with this GPU. We kind of saw the load-in stutters a little bit in Hogwarts too. Okay, so our display and graphics settings, we're going to go to 1920 by 1200. We'll apply that. 165 hertz refresh rate, that's good. All right, so DLSS is on quality. Graphics is on ultra. Let's see what we get. Okay, so 4336 so far. We're turning, we're looking. Our 1% lows kind of had a bit of stuttering when we were going to the new area there. Again, more little stutters going to a new area. Interesting. Will you add Starfield to the test list? Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think I will. Starfield is going to be an awesome game, I think, and I'm definitely going to play the crap out of that. So I need to finish up The Witcher 3 so I can play Starfield when it comes out. Wow, we're hitting 57 FPS now. Averaging 48, 22 for our 1% lows. Let's see here. Wait, we didn't have DLSS on quality, obviously. Wait, it says DLSS on quality. What? How is DLSS on quality right now? This is a Radeon GPU. What the heck? Is what? All right, let's try. What does ultra performance DLSS look like? I don't think that setting is even making a difference. Okay, so we're going to set it to FSR 2. Quality, there we go. Okay, there we go. Now we're getting some upscaling. Look at that, up to 80 FPS now. Oh, wow. Okay, that's a lot better. All right, so we're going to do our walkthrough test. Here we go. Would you rather have 60 FPS with ray tracing or 120 FPS no ray tracing? If you get to literally double your frame rate by turning ray tracing off, then I would say it's usually almost always worth it. Unless you're already getting over 100 FPS with ray tracing, then it's okay. Maybe 90 FPS with ray tracing, I'd probably go with that as my baseline. Okay, so 6550 for our FPS. Very, very playable. You know, the RTX 4050 in this mode is not much different. Like I'm pretty sure the 4050 was getting a little bit more than this. Like, but some of the 4050s were getting less than this. Even the 4060s might have been getting a little less than this, like the lower watt Cyborg. But yeah, very playable here at 1920 by 1200 resolution. Awesome to see. You know, excellent. Last of Us Part 1. I did let the shaders load here earlier. Hopefully they are still loaded and saved here. Okay, here we go. All right, so graphics. We're going to be on ultra settings, except we're going to set textures down to medium so that we don't stutter. For our display, 1920 by 1200. Upscaling mode is going to be FSR 2 on quality. Very good. Let's go ahead and go to Last of Us. New game, moderate, start. So let's see what we get in Last of Us. I'm very curious to see. Have not seen this CPU, GPU in action here in Last of Us yet. This is a 1200p screen. That's correct, Zachary. 1920 by 1200. Okay, so wow, 81 FPS with a nice steady frame time graph. This is in the cinematic. It's a little bit easier to run the game in the cinematic mode. Let's also go ahead and try hearing the audio from the speakers.
Crud, what time is it?
It's way past your bedtime.
But it's still today.
Honey, please not right now. I do not have the energy for this.
Here,
What's this?
your birthday. You kept complaining about your broken watch. So I figured, you know. You like it?
Honey, this is... It's
What?
nice, but I think it's stuck. It's not...
What? No. Oh, ha ha.
Get the money for this.
Drugs.
Zachary wants to know how loud the fans are. So we did the fan test earlier. It was right around 51 decibels, just shy of 51 decibels during max fans, and we're currently on max fans. Performance mode was like 47, 48 decibels, and then silent mode was like 44. And we'll go ahead and switch between the different modes here in a moment once we get out of the cinematics. But right now, 86 FPS, 75 for a 1% low. Absolutely phenomenal performance in Last of Us 2 so far. Let's go ahead and try switching to performance mode. So we're in performance mode now, and the fan noise is obviously going to go way down.
Hello?
Sarah, honey, I need to get your daddy on the phone.
Uncle Tommy, what time is it?
I need to talk to your dad now. There's something...
Uncle Tommy? Hello?
Our temps have come in line. Did you notice that? All right, our temps are now 76, 79 because we're power. It's power limit throttling our temps much lower now. The fans are also quieter. So
Dad?
very playable. And switching it to performance mode did not really impact our FPS too much. We're still getting well above 60 FPS with good 1% lows. And our temps are better. Let's try going to silent mode.
Where the heck are you?
We've received reports that victims afflicted with the infection show signs of increased aggression and
So silent mode, reducing our watts down from 120.
to be some commotion coming from
So max fan mode was giving 120 total watts. Performance mode was doing 100 watts. We dropped 20 watts in performance mode, and now silent mode going down to just 75 total watts. But look at our performance; it's still good. You know, we're still doing above 60 FPS in silent mode, and this laptop is super quiet, and our temps are still really good. So I think that's one of the very important things to keep in mind with this laptop is that, you know, max fans mode is really not required. That'll bump a lot of the temperatures up for no reason, really. And if you were to just play the game on silent or performance mode, you're still going to get very good FPS and much better temps and quieter fans all at the same time. So let's go and hear the audio for this section.
Here you are.
Sarah, are you okay?
Yeah?
Does anyone come in here?
No, who would come in here?
Don't go near the doors. Just stand back there.
Dad, you're kind of freaking me out. What's going on?
It's the Coopers. Something ain't right with them. I think they're sick.
What kind of sick?
Jimmy!
Dad?
Come here. Come here. Jimmy. Jimmy, Jimmy, I am warning you.
You shot him?
Sarah.
I saw him this morning.
There is something bad going on.
Really a great acoustic experience. And even though the speakers on this laptop are not very good, like they're just, you know, slightly above average speakers, it can go really quiet and still put out good FPS. So that's nice to see. All right. So next up we have Dying Light 2. What would I choose between a 7600S and a 4050? That's where, if you're primarily an esports gamer, I feel like the 7600S is good enough for all the AAA games, but is going to be a little bit better in esports titles. I think the 7600S is an obvious choice, potentially, as a very viable, good option, especially at the $899 price point. It's a very good option for that type of a gamer. If you're primarily a AAA gamer, then a lot more of those games are going to have frame gen support, and that's where the 4050 in the games with frame generation enabled are. You're just going to be able to take advantage of ray tracing and higher settings with increased smoothness with the 4050. So it depends on the type of gamer you are. Obviously, this GPU CPU combo is going to be able to play 1200p games quite well. It's just certain games you'll have to turn off ray tracing, or you'll have to turn you know, FSR on, and so it's just going to depend on the game. So high quality ray tracing, we'll do full screen. FSR 2 is set to quality. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we get. Dying Light 2 high quality ray tracing is pretty demanding. I don't know if we'll get playable frame rates or not. Henrik says, we want a RX 7850 XT mobile. It would trash NVIDIA, but AMD just doesn't want to. I'm not sure, Henrik, if it would trash NVIDIA, but I think it could be very competitive with NVIDIA and would help bring the prices down on NVIDIA's top cards. So that's why I would love it, right? Okay, so 49 FPS. So we are playing high quality ray tracing enabled, and we are getting playable frame rates. It's in the playable range at 44. Henrik says, Cyberpunk with QHD runs fine on my laptop, but again, I'm 50 plus and can't tell the difference over 50 FPS or more. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. Some people just can't really see all of the high refresh rate gaming potential, you know, like with their eyes. King says, I'm still waiting, hoping for Last of Us Part 2 and Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West to reach PC. I think it will. Sony is exporting more and more of their games because they're recognizing that, oh, we can make a lot more money if we just put these on PC. So I'm expecting more and more games to come to PC from Sony. $42 for our FPS average so far. We are in a playable range, but you know, an RTX 4050 with frame generation support with these same settings, I think it's doing a bit higher here, like more in like the 70-80s range probably, in with frame gen. Maybe, yeah, probably like 70s. To me, 50 FPS is leggy. Well, if it's a really consistent 50 FPS, then it's still pretty good. And it's just a single player game. I can play 50 FPS, no problem. But yeah, if it's like got a lot of 1% lows that are stuttering down to like 20 or 15, then yeah, no. If it's like, if the 1% lows are like 45 and the average is 50, then it's totally fine to play. Unless it's a really fast action game, then it's not great. 46 for our median FPS, 27 for our min. This 1% low is obviously not good. A good example. So Dying Light 2, playable on ultra settings with ray tracing, but just barely. It's on the edge of playability. If we were to turn off ray tracing, obviously massive gain to the FPS. And that's the key, right? If like with this GPU, going to high quality, you have to restart the game. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be a consistent theme with this laptop. It's just you're going to need to turn off ray tracing a large portion of the time. And as long as you're willing to do that, then this laptop is going to be awesome. $80 to 90 FPS is smooth. Yeah, that's what I prefer. I prefer 80 to 90 FPS. Like I prefer 90 plus, ideally, if I get to choose, you know. And I do get to choose. I have a Blade 18 with a 4090, and it plays all the games, like 120 plus FPS almost always. So I love that. Okay, so high quality, FSR 2 on quality. Let's go ahead and hop into the test and see how we do. So this is turning off ray tracing. We're re-benchmarking it to see what kind of gains we can get. $107, 80, 102. Quite nice. The moment you turn off ray tracing, super playable. This is, you know, high settings still. So yeah, like this is a game where, again, you just turn off ray tracing, bam, great FPS. Of course, being a game all about darkness and light, having ray tracing is kind of nice. Shadowy says, do you find gaming on a laptop comfortable, or do you use an external monitor? Actually, lately, I've just been playing on my Razer Blade 18 native display. It's a really great display, and yeah, I've been playing on that. Mainly because my desktop back here is not working right now. I was playing on this with the widescreen monitor. But yeah, like the Blade 18 is a great all-around experience, just with the built-in speakers, and I mean, it just makes it a great experience. So I don't feel the need to use an external monitor because it's a huge display, and then really great speakers, and I just use the onboard audio for The Witcher 3. But sometimes when I'm trying to play with a friend, I'll use the TV in the living room outside, or the projector behind me. And that way the friend can see the screen better. Sorry to be the bringer of bad news, Henrik. Says, trying to tell you that 30 to 20, sure, but with age, you'll not be an esports gamer. So the desktop will turn on, yes, but there's no display output. The RTX 4090 fans are not spinning, so the 4090 is not working in it, in my desktop right now. Not sure the reason why. I think it's probably the power cable. I just haven't had time to troubleshoot it because I've been so busy live streaming. 106 FPS when you turn off ray tracing. So more than double the FPS the moment you turn off ray tracing. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, let's go. How is the 7600S performing so far? Some of the games you can play with ray tracing enabled, but a lot of them we're having to turn off ray tracing in order to get playable settings. So highest settings with ray tracing enabled, exclusive full screen, Intel XeSS, I guess. It's FSR must not be supported, so we'll use Intel XeSS for scaling, which is fine. And we'll use everything else just fine like that. Yep, sounds good. I wonder if I'd be able to play comfortably on a 14-inch laptop like the G14 4080. Most likely, but the big thing is, as long as you scoot the screen closer to you, it's all good. As long as your gaming space lets you scoot it closer, then you should be able to do it just fine. All right, so ultra settings, 1920 by 1200, Intel XeSS on quality. I don't see any FSR support here, so that'll be our next best scaling solution. Let's see what we get. I mean, Henrik, I'm pretty sure that I'll still be able to see the difference between 60 FPS and 120 FPS when I'm 50. But I think it depends a lot on the person to begin with. Some people just don't focus on that part. Like their brain just doesn't work that way, as much. I don't know. Okay, so we are getting some 1% low stutters. Look at that frame time graph. Getting more stutters there. It seems to be mellowing out now, though. Once the environment again is loaded in, like we're running into these environmental load-in stutters. That's probably the biggest flaw so far that we've seen with the laptop out of everything. Is that. Look at CPU consumption. So this power limit is combined power limit between the CPU and GPU together. It's the total system wattage. If you want the CPU wattage, you actually got to minus these two together. So notice again, we're getting frame time stutters as we load into a new environment. It seems to be a pretty consistent pattern getting these frame time stutters as we load into environments. I wonder if there's a solution to fix that, because that's a pretty big deal. That makes the laptop a little bit harder to recommend if you're getting a lot of those load-in stutters. Yeah, Kirs1, you're not the first one to point that out. I've had to keep pointing it out throughout the stream, so don't feel bad. I'll bet you we'll get some more load-in stutters here as we go into this new area. We'll see. So far, it's good. Nice, steady frame time graph there. 90 FPS. Looking up on the mountain. It's always the highest part of the FPS benchmark. Or highest part, yeah. Highest FPS of the benchmark. We got one stutter, two stutter. But it's looking good now, and our FPS is actually in the playable range here at 45. Yeah, I think the biggest indicator of whether this laptop will work for you is going to be, do you want ray tracing? If you're okay with no ray tracing, then this will play every game on high settings or ultra settings really well. If you really want ray tracing, probably should skip this laptop. That would be my kind of summary of the performance. 52 FPS is still in the playable range with ray tracing enabled. But an action title like this, I would shoot for 90 FPS, which I'm pretty sure you'd be able to get that. Like if we I won't do the whole benchmark, but let's just go ahead and turn off ray tracing. And we'll try running the benchmark again. with ray tracing off now. Let's see what we get in the opening scene where we were only getting like 40 FPS before. Okay, so we were getting like 40 FPS in the scene. Now we're doing 65, 70. Yeah, and this is like kind of a below average area. The benchmark's kind of more complicated areas. So yeah, like you're probably going to get like 65, 75 FPS now with ray tracing off. That's a pretty big gain, almost a 50% increase to FPS. So we're going to go and end the benchmark there. Let's move into The Witcher 3. And then we'll do a summary of everything we found out about the laptop. Zachary says, try Red Dead Redemption 2. That is one of the potential redeeming games for this GPU. I have not been testing it, though, because Red Dead Redemption 2 does not download quickly half the time. It's really annoying. Okay, so ray tracing on Ultra, FSR on Quality. We don't want dynamic resolution scaling. Display, we want to make sure we're the right resolution, full screen, that's good. Kirsten says, I don't like NVIDIA, but there's no reason to buy a laptop with an AMD GPU. I think there is an argument to be had that for AMD GPUs, if you're an esports gamer, you just want raw GPU performance, and you have a specific price point, like say $900, like this thing's $899 right now. In Apex Legends, for example, if that's all you play, then you're going to get good enough FPS, right? Like better FPS than an RTX 4050, because this has more raw GPU power than an RTX 4050. So it's you got to look at each individual gamer and understand the context around what they're buying for the reasons they're buying it. Like this had really good Warzone 2 performance, like 90 FPS, 90 to 100 FPS in Warzone 2, which is really good for a $900 laptop. Okay, so only 29 FPS right now. There's almost no point to doing this test because I already know we need to turn off ray tracing. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this test with ray tracing disabled. So we're going to flip ray tracing off. All right. And now we're 60 FPS. Let's go. 63, 70, 80 FPS there. So yeah, just turning off ray tracing jumps us from 28, 29 FPS all the way to 75 FPS. Holy moly. Yeah. You know, that's the thing though. In a game like this, if you did go with an RTX 4050 because it has frame generation support and you set it to these settings with no ray tracing, you're probably going to be over 100 FPS in the same scenario. So you got to pick your poison. What do you want? You know, what do you value? Do you value ray tracing or not? Even without ray tracing, so you turn off ray tracing, the RTX 4050 is going to get more FPS because it has frame gen support. So if you like frame gen, like smoother AAA titles, then the 4050 probably still makes a lot of sense. But yeah, this is a game where it looks really good even without ray tracing. So, all right, very nice. There's all our benchmarks for today. Yeah, we got to wrap it up. I would love to do Red Dead Redemption 2. I plan on doing another live stream doing a head-to-head comparison with this laptop versus RTX 4050 laptops, and I will do Red Dead Redemption 2 in that test. So, let's talk pros, cons, all of that shenanigans for this laptop right here. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so awesome. So comparing this $899 laptop against most other $899 laptops, we did this kind of at the beginning. This thing's got great CPU performance. It's got good raw, like great raw GPU performance, more raw performance than an RTX 4050. But if you plan on using frame generation and playing games that have frame generation support, the RTX 4050 has a big advantage in those titles specifically, like probably like 50% more FPS type of advantage, like a big advantage. But in the games that do not have frame generation support, this one will probably be like 10 or 15% faster than a 4050, I think. We need to do a side-by-side actual detailed testing comparison. I still have my Nitro 5 with a 4050. That'd be a good matchup for this. I also have an Omen 16 4050. I could do that one too. I don't know. We'll see. But I plan on doing a side-by-side performance benchmark comparison with this laptop and a 4050 in the near future. So be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on that. The quality control of this laptop was excellent. No issues with the keyboard, the trackpad, the ports, the display. All of it is running great, feels great. Minimal flex in this laptop, very rigid, good build quality. The ports on this are high quality. You have a USB 4, two USB-Cs. One of those is a USB 4, one's a 3.2. And then you have two USB-As, you have an HDMI 2.1, an Ethernet port, no SD card slot of any kind. And I wish there was another USB port, maybe a mini display port. So the ports on this are like, okay, but they're not amazing. The high quality ports for the ports you do have though. The webcam quality was certainly below average, not very good. And no Windows Hello on here is a little bit disappointing. The keyboard feels good, has good backlighting, and has a nice layout and good functionality. The touchpad is a glass touchpad and feels great to use, very high end for a $900 laptop. Speakers on this were mediocre. I think I got like a 7.5 out of 10, and it's loud enough to enjoy some AAA games because the fan noise can get quite quiet and still have good FPS. So it's still possible to use like acoustically friendly audio with minimal fan noise. And we did test the fan noise. It was basically like 44 decibels in a 43 decibel room, so barely audible at all, in silent mode. And obviously, in that scenario, the speakers are good enough to actually put out decent-ish audio if you're just sitting there in front of the laptop. It'll be a decent experience for you, but not necessarily amazing because the speaker quality is just not that loud or not that clear, not that bassy. But it's still going to be a decent experience, like not a bad one. Fan noise on max fans also was not that loud at 51 decibels. In terms of thermals, we saw much better temperatures in performance and silent mode because it limited the power watts on the total system down from 120 down to 100. And at 100 watts, it was able to keep the temperatures in check. At 120 watts, even with max fans, the temperatures went all the way to thermal throttle on the CPU, which is a little bit disappointing that it can't handle that. That said, AMD and Asus know that this goes to 95 watts. They're not afraid of it breaking on you, but typically speaking, a lot of people prefer to power limit throttle rather than thermal throttle. It is what it is. Cinebench R23, we got right around 14,000 in our 10-minute test, which is very good for an $899 laptop. Time Spy, we got 9.2 9,200 something, which is better than any RTX 4050 we have tested so far, which typically test in the like 7 to 8,500 range. So again, better raw GPU performance in this laptop than any RTX 4050 we've seen so far. Apex Legends had very little ghosting, like very good overall esports performance with this laptop display, but it's not necessarily like the best esports display because it's not 240 hertz. And like I said, there is just a tiny bit of ghosting from a slightly increased screen response delay to the display. Very minimal though, and I think most players would be able to play esports games really well on this machine, especially for a $900 price point. Once again, it's rare to get a display that's a super fast response rate at this price point. And doggies are barking. So because it has a good enough Hero, Zeus, quiet. No. Okay, sorry for the interruption. They might bark again. They hear me talking, you know. Okay, so if you're an esports player and you have $900 to spend, this is going to be a good option for esports gaming in general. We saw 90 FPS in a Warzone 2. We saw hundreds of FPS in Apex Legends, like usually over 200 FPS above the 165 hertz refresh rate, though our 1% lows, I think we're a little bit below our refresh rate. Obviously, CSGO, a lot of these other games are going to get well above 165 hertz. Fortnite, probably over 165 FPS again. So very good esports gaming machine. If you need a basic esports gaming machine, $900, this is a great option. But, and that's partially because frame generation does not help or support esports gaming because, you know, frame generation causes input lag. So no competitive games will ever implement frame generation technology into the game itself because it just causes more input lag, which gamers don't want in those titles. But for AAA games like Cyberpunk 2077, Hogwarts, Dying Light 2, those games support frame generation. And if you had a 4050 laptop, you would get way more FPS in those titles specifically. But other games like God of War, we saw more FPS with this laptop than with an RTX 4050, which is surprising, right? So over 65 FPS in this with ultra settings. And that's more than what we've seen in a 4050. Not quite as good as what we see in a high-end 4060, 4070. So this is slotting itself between a 4050, 4060 in terms of raw GPU performance. Dead Space, all of these games, all of these AAA titles, we saw playable frame rates technically with ultra settings, ray tracing on high or ray tracing on ultra, except for Cyberpunk 27, which we only saw like 27 FPS, 25 FPS. Witcher 3, I guess, was also kind of not really very playable with ray tracing on ultra either. So it depends, I guess. But the moment we turned off ray tracing in all of these titles, the FPS skyrocketed to extremely playable, very good frame rates with real FPS raw rendered frames. There's no AI generated frames since there's no frame gen. Now, if you're not a fan of frame generation in general and you're okay with no ray tracing, then obviously it's going to be a great gaming experience on this laptop for $899. You're going to be able to play all the games at high or ultra settings pretty much. Just no ray tracing. That's it. Just turn off ray tracing, boom, high FPS. And some of the games you will be able to turn ray tracing on and still have good performance. But it's just going to depend on the game. So let's talk display. We didn't talk about display. Basically 300 nits, 297 nits brightness with 100% sRGB, about 80% of the Dolby and P3 color gamut. So this is a far above average display quality for a $900 price tag. So if you're after a good display, then this is a laptop that I would prioritize over some of the RTX 4050 machines that have weaker display qualities at $900. That's obviously one of the greatest strengths of this laptop. Another great strength of this laptop is just the rigid build quality, the high quality trackpad, the great keyboard and number pad, those and the good quality ports. You know, some of these other budget laptops have a lot more flex to the laptop, have a lot more bendiness. They have plastic trackpads, and they have much worse quality displays. So there are some real advantages and some really good things about this laptop, but it's not all gravy train, mainly because NVIDIA pulled frame generation out of the hat. Okay, that's like the biggest thing that makes you go like, well, maybe I should just get a 4050. And if you can get all the other features that this laptop has, but in a laptop that has, like you can get like the high quality display, trackpad, keyboard, mouse, all that, but also get a 4050, then that might be a real draw for a lot of people out there. That said, I think this laptop will fit a lot of gamers out there, like especially competitive or esports gamers that are looking for a good laptop at a reasonable price. I think this laptop makes a lot of sense for those gamers in particular, because we saw higher FPS in those esports games than what you see with a 4050. So because it has more raw GPU power. And yeah, so yeah, I think that covers everything about the laptop. Certainly not my #1 recommended laptop at $900, but it's good. It's a good laptop for $900, but not my #1 recommended. That's basically the summary that I would say. If you're okay, if you're an esports gamer, great choice. If you're a AAA gamer and you're okay with no ray tracing, also good choice, because you get all the other things about the laptop that are good, like the display quality, the build quality, all of that is very excellent for $900. Yeah, I think that, like, for example, a great competitor to this would probably be like the Omen 16. You know, that one's got the same, a similar 16-inch display, but the display quality on that is lower quality. But it's got a 4050, so it has frame generation support. So it's like you're trading blows back and forth, and you got to figure out what you value. Like the Omen 16 had better speakers, but this has better build quality and a better hinge, I would say. So, like I said, you're trading blows back and forth. So overall, I like this laptop. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's my #1 pick at $900, but right now, because it's on sale, you know, going back to the sales right now, at the current pricing for $900, it's up there as one of the very best picks because of the display quality, because of the build quality, and because of its raw GPU performance. It's just going to make a lot of sense for certain gamers to buy this one over the other laptops that are currently priced at $900. But if you can obviously spend more, there are some really great options in here to consider as well. So be sure to look through this list if you're after trying to get the most GPU performance for your money, or whatever, just hunting for a top deal. And we're constantly updating that top deal section, so be looking out for those as well. Yeah, that's it for this live stream. I hope you found it helpful. I will see you in the next one. Just checking chat. Okay. All right. Thanks, Gizmo. Thanks for testing Doom. No problem. What are maximum safe temps on gaming load for CPU and a laptop for good lifespan of the device? Well, AMD seems to think that 95 degrees CPU is just fine long term. So whether it actually is, I think it probably is. You know, obviously AMD and Asus are saying basically by putting this together and putting it out there that they believe it's going to last a long time. They're going to stand by their product. They have a warranty on it. If you don't want 95-degree temps, it's easy with this laptop. You just switch it to performance mode. Boom. Better temps, like in the 70s then on the CPU and GPU. You just have slightly less power limits to the CPU, GPU, which is going to reduce your performance. It's a trade-off you have to make, or you can get a laptop cooler. This laptop would be excellent for a laptop cooler, like the IETS GT500 that I recently reviewed if you want to check out my channel. And the CPU thermal throttle is at 95. Jed says, do you think having no FreeSync G-Sync is a big deal? This laptop has FreeSync. This does have FreeSync. But in general, FreeSync and G-Sync make a huge difference when you're getting less than 60 FPS. Like if you're getting like 35 to 45, 50-ish, having G-Sync or FreeSync will prevent a lot of screen tearing. I think the range that G-Sync covers is bigger than FreeSync though, so I'm not sure exactly how that translates. But when you're doing high FPS gaming over 100 FPS, you don't really need FreeSync or G-Sync. It's just updating so fast anyway, you don't really get much screen tearing to begin with. So that's kind of like my thoughts on FreeSync and G-Sync. Okay. All right. See you guys in the next one. Brandon out. I was just checking chats to make sure there's no other questions.